oil spill by BP has left eyeballs all over the sea. So don't go swimming down in the south unless you want tar balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Swim in the ocean, you'll have balls in your mouth. Go ahead! Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your mouth. Balls in your mouth, balls in your mouth. Don't swim in the ocean, you'll get balls in your
What's up, Boochcast fans, listeners across the internet, radio waves? This is Vinny Bucci, aka the Booch, and this is that time again, once again, yet again for the Boochcast. What's up, everybody? It is Thursday, September the 8th, 2016. It is high noon on Throwback Thursday. That's right. This is a special day of the week where we pop in the old home movies, dig through the old photo albums, and take a special look back at yesteryear. And as you can see, I'm excited to be here, and I got on a random white shirt, rocking my Bucci Enterprises hat that I'm always wearing, or that I've been wearing a lot of lately here on the show, and I know I'm wearing white, and everybody looking at me like, Booch, it's after Labor Day. Don't give a shit. It feels comfortable. Fuck that after Labor Day shit. And when did that start? By the way, that's something I got to look that shit up. This whole wearing white after Labor Day shit. What's behind that shit? Don't wear white at Labor Day. It says here, the dictum, whatever the fuck that means, you shouldn't wear white outfits before Memorial Day and after Labor Day has been around for a long time. And while people don't really pay it much heed these days, it keeps hanging around. So where did it come from? It doesn't matter anymore. Let me see. It says here, the summer was bracketed by Memorial Day and Labor Day. Society flocked en masse from townhouse to seaside cottage or mountain cabin to escape the heat. City clothes were left behind in exchange for lighter, whiter summer clothes. Come fall and the return to the city, summer clothes were put away and more formal city clothes donned once more. Maybe we should just blame it on coal soot. I guess because after Labor Day, I think it's because everybody was working, and white, you can get shit covered all over it if you work too hard. I guess. Or something about coal soot. I don't know what the fuck this means. Also, the rich. Something about super rich people didn't do that. You know, just stupid shit that rich people came up with, and you know, fashion magazines and yeah, coal soot, because before heaters were invented, people shoveled coal to heat buildings. It was usually for men to wear white or light colored suits. The soot from the coal would get all over them and stain their nice clothes. They changed their wardrobe around Labor Day when the weather typically starts to get cool. See, that to me would make a little bit more sense, I guess. I don't know. Although I did make a valid point, because there is a bit of a soda stain on this shirt, because I'm not going to lie, this is one of the shirts I wore to Vegas, and I remember getting a bottle of soda out of a vending machine. I went to open it, and it started fizzling all over the goddamn place, and it got all over the shirt. But luckily, this was not a shirt that I wore on stage to perform in, so I didn't really give a shit. If anything, I was probably on my way back to the hotel room anyway, so I didn't give a shit. Although Jamie, Ryan, and Conrad, they gave me plenty of shit for it anyway, so it didn't really bother me too much. Plus, I think I remember when Tim Andrews a while back said that I looked like Shmoo. I think this fucking confirms it right here. I think this definitely confirms that I look like Shmoo. I can honestly say that, but you know what? But like he said, I don't give a shit. You know, making fun of me doesn't work anymore, man. Like my feelings are incapable of being hurt in 2016. But anyway, I had an interesting day yesterday. Now today, as I mentioned before, we're going to be taking a special look back at yesteryear. You know, this is the throwback edition of the show. You know, the title of today's show is called According to My Research. Now, which means, once again, that is a catchphrase from the Magic School Bus, which means later on today here on the Boochcast, we will be discussing the Magic School Bus again. Don't worry, there's 2 more seasons, and then we're done with that. I know some people like that I'm talking about this a lot. There's some people out there who don't. For those of you who don't, bear with me. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. But the point is that I want to make is that, you know, it is one of the Netflix shows that I've been watching. And since we're talking about Netflix, I'll give a Netflix update. Last night, I officially finished the 3rd season of Arrow. So I have so now currently on Netflix, those of you who don't know, even though Arrow is a show that's currently on TV, and season 5 is starting October the 5th. Sorry. Season 5 will be on October 5th. Season 4, this past season that aired, has not been available on Netflix. And apparently it won't be available on Netflix until October when season 5 airs, apparently. So the first 3 seasons of Arrow are on Netflix. And I finished all 3 of those seasons. So technically, I got all the Netflix episodes done. Now, currently this morning, but when I woke up, I sent a Facebook message late at night to my good friend Kira, who works with me at the Big Orange Box from Hell, or as my friend Frank likes to call it, the Big Orange Slut. Kira was generous enough, and Kira's a good friend of mine. So I know I'm saying Big Orange Slut. I want to reiterate right now, Kira is not who I'm referring to when I say Big Orange Slut. We're talking about the corporate. We're talking about the company as a whole when I say that. Kira is not a slut. She's a very wonderful, kind, sweet human being who I talk to all the time while I'm there. She's a good person. Kira is a good person. Let me reiterate that for the audience right now. But she's a wonderful human being, and we talk all the time. We're friends, and we found out that we both are huge fans of Arrow, and we talk about it a lot. So, and I've recently become a fan of this show. So she was generous enough to let me borrow her Hulu account so that I can watch season 4, since I can't find it anywhere else. It's not available on Netflix, and every other place is impossible to get it from. So this is just a way for me to watch it without having to pay for it. And so I'm looking forward to watching season 4 of Arrow. I'm gonna start today, but because it was still when I finished season 3, I still had a lot of work to do. I had to watch the Cruiserweight Classic, NXT, and Lucha Underground, because Lucha Underground, the new season started yesterday. So that means Lucha Underground is going back in the rotation. We're going to talk about Lucha Underground today on the show as well. And so what I did was I decided, how am I going to kill the time? So I moved on to the next Netflix show that was on the list. And I figure I'll watch some of these episodes tonight. And then tomorrow I'll start season 4 of Arrow if Kira writes me back, which she did this morning. So I will be watching season 4 of Arrow today. And what? There we go. Did a little dab right there while I was sneezing. I did a sneeze dab, which is the new cool thing. And more on that a little later on. But anyway, so what I did was, ow, that actually hurt me. Jesus, my arm's starting to hurt. Note to self, do not dab when sneezing. It's actually fucking painful. For some reason, there's a lot of pain shooting up my right arm right now. Don't worry, I'm not having a heart attack or a stroke. At least I hope not. But anyway, shit, that's what happens when I go on rants. I forgot what I'm going to say. Oh, yeah. So I moved on to the next Netflix episode, and the episode was called Happy Tree Friends. Now, Desmond and I briefly talked about Happy Tree Friends a long time ago when Desmond discovered the show. And then he told me I had to check it out. So this is another Netflix show where I'm heavily recommended by a friend of mine. Desmond also recommended Daredevil to me, which I watched a while back and talked about here on the show with him. So I remember we saw the first episode together, and then a while back he was on episodes 5 and 6, and we watched 2 more episodes the last time Desmond stayed at my house. So we kind of did that. Then, so yesterday I kind of went through episodes 2, 3, and 4. Then of course I skipped 5 and 6 because I already seen them, and I got to 7, 8, and 9. So I'm currently on episode 9 out of 13 of Happy Tree Friends. So I managed to watch quite a few of those shows. But it's going to be a while before I finish that, because now that I got the Hulu account from Kira, I'm doing what I said I was going to do before. I am taking a sabbatical from Netflix. As starting today, I am not watching any more Netflix shows unless I end up hanging out with Desmond and he wants to watch some stuff on Netflix, then so be it. But I am done with Netflix for now. I am taking a sabbatical from Netflix. I'm putting in this Hulu account, and I'm going to start watching the 4th season of Arrow. And my goal is that from now until October 3rd, which means I got about a month or so, less than 30 days, to watch season 4 of The Arrow. That is my goal, is to watch the 4th season of Arrow. Once I get through the 4th season of Arrow, like I said, then I will go back to watching Netflix, and Arrow will become just a TV show that I watch every week, because it'll come on Wednesdays. So that's what's going to happen with Arrow. I won't be binge watching it anymore. I'll just be watching it on a weekly basis. I'll make sure every week I watch 1 episode of Arrow and then get through the anticipation of seeing it, and that's what's going to happen. So now that I've gotten through the 3 seasons of Arrow on Netflix, another goal that I have for this weekend is I'm going to contact Zach. Now, Zach, you guys remember, he was a special guest co-host here on the show, and he co-hosted with me because we were having his because that was the weekend that we went out for his birthday. We went to the strip club, we went to Mazzy's, and we pretty much had a good time. We had a blast. It was fun, somewhat. And now Zach was the one who recommended the Arrow to me. Now, I found out that Desmond is also a fan of Arrow. I think he was on season 3 last time we spoke. Now, I don't know if Desmond is completely done with season 3 or not, but once he is, I think Desmond and I will have our own discussion of Arrow, but we'll only talk about the 3 seasons that he's seen and or what else Desmond has seen. So, but unfortunately, Zach works on Fridays, and it's impossible for him to get time off. Apparently, Mondays and Tuesdays are his days off from work. Kind of reminds me of Desmond's old situation from back in the day. So what I want to do, what I think would be a great idea, is I'm going to talk to Zach, and I think that for the next 3 Mondays, guaranteed, Zach will be on the show. I'm going to have him on the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th of September. And during that time, we're going to talk about Arrow. Basically, on the 12th, we're going to talk about season 1 of Arrow and then recap Backlash. On the 19th, we'll recap season 2 of Arrow and then get into some wrestling talk. And on the 26th, we'll recap Arrow, season 3 of Arrow, and Clash the Champions. And then on October 3rd, if I finish it by then. So October 3rd is a maybe. That's my goal. If I can finish season 4 by then, we'll make it happen. But just in case, if he does not, if he doesn't, then we'll have him on a later date. But if I finish season 4 by October 3rd, I will bring Zach back on the show October 3rd, and we'll talk about the 4th season of Arrow as well as Bound for Glory, which will be on October 2nd. And Frank has already said that he's inviting me over to his house to watch Bound for Glory. And Zach's also inviting me to Hooters that day to watch the Denver Broncos play the Atlanta Falcons, because Zach is an Atlanta Falcons fan and I am a Denver Broncos fan. So it makes perfect sense for us to get together and watch the show and watch the game together. So probably after work, I'm going to go watch the game with him. Then after the game, I think what we might do is we might swing by his place, Frank's place, to watch Bound for Glory, because he lives in Roswell on Holcomb Bridge. So he doesn't live too far away from the Hooters. And I'll find out Sunday how far away he really lives when I go to his house for Backlash. So we've got a lot going on. A lot of craziness going on this week. And I am very happy to be doing it. Now, so basically that's what's going down. I got all this Arrow stuff that I'm going to be planning out. But now, like I said, if I don't finish it by October 3rd, then I'll just keep going with season 4. And and then we'll just keep on going. And, worst case scenario, I'll bring Zach in on another day to watch Arrow. Like, let's say on October 3rd, let's say I'm on October 3rd, I do finish season 4 of Arrow. Or I might just, if I'm 2 episodes away, I might just stay up late or get up early in the morning and watch the other 2 episodes of Arrow and then be ready to talk about season 4. But that's going to be the goal, TV-wise, with Arrow. And I'm just giving you guys a little indication of what you can expect on upcoming shows. Now, I mentioned the Broncos and the Falcons, which is going to segue into the next thing I want to talk about before I get into all the fun stuff. Also, obviously you can tell, since the title of the show is called According to My Research, my good friend Lance Goodman will not be on the show today. Apparently Lance said that I didn't give him enough notice and that he wasn't prepared, to be on the show today. So he wants to aim for sometime next week. I reached out to him to see if September 14th, next Wednesday, would be a good time, but he has not responded back to me yet. So since apparently Lance needs more advanced notice nowadays, I tried to give him some on Facebook, but I never heard back from him. So I tried to text him. And apparently I gave him too short notice. But all right, we'll figure it out this weekend. I'll see what I can do about that. But so Lance Goodman will not be on the show today. I was not able to get him. So I decided to put the third season of the Magic School Bus in to fill up the time. And now here's the thing about the Magic School Bus. Today we're going to talk about season 3. Now, Desmond has also said to me that because he was off on Labor Day, he might have to work tomorrow. Here's the deal. If Desmond is unable to co-host with me tomorrow on the Boochcast, then I will use tomorrow to also recap season 4 of the Magic School Bus. That way, I'll be done with the Magic School Bus. So tomorrow I'll do the final season of the Magic School Bus, as well as the recap of TNA Impact Wrestling, which will air tonight on Pop TV. Those will be the 2 main topics that I get into tomorrow. Now, if Desmond is able to co-host, then I will save the 4th season of the Magic School Bus for next week, probably Thursday or probably on a Thursday or something like that. I may just figure it out. Or if Zach is unable for some reason to not do September 12th, then I'll probably use that day to do 4th season of Magic School Bus. But, there's a lot of things I'm looking to juggle around, but everything I've got is organized and in control. So there's a lot coming up real soon on the Boochcast, and I just wanted to give you guys, I want to start the show off by giving you guys a little bit of updates on where we're at and what we're going to do and how things are going to run in the coming weeks. So, like I said, that's my goal, is Zach's going to be making a lot of appearances over the next couple weeks so we can do the Arrow together. And then I'm going to talk with Desmond, and once he's completely done with season 3, I don't know if he plans to watch season 4 or if he's going to wait till it comes out on Netflix. But if he plans to wait till season 4 comes out on Netflix to binge watch it, or if he's already been watching it like on TV regularly, I don't know what he's been doing. But then Desmond and I might have our own separate discussions about Arrow. And of course, once I finish the 4th season of Arrow, I'll finish those last few episodes of Happy Tree Friends, and then Desmond and I will have a more in-depth discussion about Happy Tree Friends. Especially for those of you who don't remember that episode, that moment a while back when we talked about the first episode. This will be a great this will be a great opportunity for you guys to really figure that out. And then, of course, I'll move on to the next show on the Netflix list, which is the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be a throwback one, from my childhood, because I was a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog as a kid. My brother was a bigger fan than I was. He kind of got me hooked on it. And I definitely look forward to chatting it up with you guys and making that a big, big part of the conversation. Okay, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to commence with some wrestling talk. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start the show off with the wrestling talk, and then we'll close out with the Magic School Bus. So we're going to start off right now with the Cruiserweight Classic. That's right. This is the second to last episode of the Cruiserweight Classic. Apparently on the 14th will be the finals of the Cruiserweight Classic, the season finale of the Cruiserweight Classic. There'll be a special 2-hour finale to commemorate it, which is kind of great that Lucha Underground is back, and the Cruiserweight Classic is on its way out. And but for this week and next week, they'll be sharing a show. And the interesting thing about the Cruiserweight Classic was, because it's the quarterfinals, we only saw 2 matches, just like we did last week. And then, of course, we'll see the semifinals and the finals next week to see who will be the first ever winner of the first Cruiserweight Classic tournament. And there'll be some other things thrown into the mix, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we got the last two semifinal spots secured in grueling bouts. And the first match of the night that we saw was Zack Sabre Jr. and Noam Dar. And apparently 8 years ago, these guys crossed paths in a training garage in Scotland. And since then, the two of them have been close friends. So that was the interesting thing. These guys have been very good friends for years. And I noticed that with both matches. Both these guys, all the opponents had known each other for a long time. So there was actually emotional stories behind it. And I will say that the match between Zack Sabre Jr. and Noam Dar was incredible. Truly, truly incredible. Quite possibly some of the best wrestling I've ever seen in my life. I mean, these guys were amazing. I mean, it was technical. It was explosive. It was violent. You know, especially Noam Dar locking in his trademark knee bar, which damn near kills everybody. And the knee bar was a very popular move that has been used in the Cruiserweight Classic. And Noam Dar definitely used it to his advantage. And, you know, and the weird part was, despite Dar ruthlessly attacking his arm and leg, Sabre again showed off his counter wrestling ability, which was great. Like, Zack Sabre had a counter for everything Noam Dar did. I mean, which to me was amazing. It's almost like wrestling Desmond in WWE 2K16, where he fucking counters everything. Jesus Christ. But anyway, so basically he traps the arms of him in a disgusting way. Like, he kind of like moves the arm back with his arm, but then puts his knee on it and like drops the arm down all the way to the point where their arms are practically touching behind his back. And then all of a sudden, Noam Dar just decides to give up. And Zack Sabre Jr. advances to next week's live finale, where he will face Grand Metalik in the finals. So there you go. It'll be so this coming Wednesday we will see Zack Sabre Jr. versus Grand Metalik. And that's going to be intense. I already know. Excuse me. Sorry. I already know that we are going to see an explosive battle between Zack Sabre Jr. and Grand Metalik. These guys are insane. And they know what they're doing, and they know how to put on hellacious matches and great fights. And this is a show that none of us are going to want to miss. It's going to be as intense as it gets. We are going to see a fight for the ages. It's going to be great. I almost guarantee that. But these guys were amazing from start to finish. I mean, like I said, they had a counter for everything. They did multiple suplexes and bounced back and forth around the ring. Like, this was a very technical match, which is something that we don't see very often in the Cruiserweight Classic. Usually we just see flips, and usually we just see a bunch of flips. That's usually it. But in this case, we actually saw some great mat technical wrestling, which I thought was amazing. I mean, these guys were doing a lot of mat wrestling in the beginning and just battling back and forth, and it was intense. And on that note, we move on to the other match of the evening, which was TJ Perkins and Rich Swann. This match was wrestling gold right here. This was amazing wrestling right here. These guys knew exactly what they were doing the whole entire time. I mean, these guys What I liked about it was the fact that at one point, Perkins locked in a figure four on Rich Swann, and he was actually doing the dab. That's what I was talking about dabbing earlier. So he's kind of doing a dab like this, showing off that he's got him. Eventually, Rich Swann breaks out of it, and then eventually he takes down TJ Perkins with a vicious move, and then as on the ground, Rich Swann starts doing some dabs of his own, and the crowd goes crazy. Just from a dab, the crowd was going nuts. So they're kind of playing mind games with each other, which I thought was great. Show us that you can do more than just the wrestling. Throw in the showmanship. And that's what's lacking. And because they're friends, it's a lot easier to do that because you can work those things out. It's easier to get to have the entertainment and the ring psychology aspect is easier when you're working with someone that's your friend as opposed to somebody you don't even know. It's like the closer you are to the person, the more entertaining you can make the match because you're willing to collaborate and work more with the other person. If it's somebody you don't know very well, you ain't going to get a lot done. Unless that person is, unless that person really is open to, collaboration. Some people are, and most wrestlers aren't, period. And I loved it. We saw, I remember at one point, Rich Swann went for a moonsault off the top rope. TJ Perkins kind of rolled out of the way, and Rich Swann landed on his feet, then did a standing moonsault and took down TJ Perkins, which I thought was amazing talent from Rich Swann. He showed off his skills immensely. Unfortunately, he was unable to do a whole lot because he hurt his knee, it buckled during the match. And then eventually these guys press forward, hitting everything that they possibly could. And then in the end, Swann, at first, they locked in the TJP clutch. Swann was able to reach the ropes, but would not be able to withstand the pain for a second time, tapping out to give Perkins the victory. Because at first, TJ held out. Now, when he grabbed the ropes, TJ used the rope count to his advantage. Because you get 5, and you got to let go. And he's like, you got to let go before the count of 5. So he let go at about 4.5. Then he locked it again. Rich Swann tapped out, and then TJ Perkins immediately afterwards just grabbed his buddy and hugged him and showed showed remorse for having to do what he had to do. But in the end, it was the only way he could win. And he was trying to show him, look, I wasn't trying to end your career, just trying to win the match. And, and he checked on his friend. And then, of course, at the end, they kind of had that hug in the middle of the ring. And it was another chance for two friends to show sportsmanship to each other, just like Sabre and Dar. And to me, again, that's what made the matches great. They both ended in submission. They both showed that the cruiserweights are more than just high flyers. And they were all friends. They were both friends. The opponents were friends. So it showed that sportsmanship at the end. I think this is one of the better episodes of the Cruiserweight Classic. Probably one of the best. And I was very entertained by it. I was very moved by it. And I can't wait for the finale tomorrow. For the next week. Sorry, not tomorrow. And next week, when the finale airs, it's probably going to be intense. It's going to be 2 hours long. So I have to try to sit through that. But ultimately, this is going to show what these stars are made of. And based on this, I'm already anticipating on the 19th, when the cruiserweights officially start showing up on Monday Night Raw. I think these cruiserweights are going to turn Monday Night Raw upside down. And I think that these cruiserweights need to be used as often as possible so that we're not seeing the same repetitive bullshit matches like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which still pisses me off that was the main event. But anyway, the Cruiserweight Classic was still amazing. The chemistry between everyone in the ring is phenomenal. The back and forth action, the high flying, the submission moves. These guys have proven they can do everything. And not only will they be great cruiserweights, but eventually they could be great world champions someday as well, if they decide to break out of that mold or are able to break out of that mold. WWE has a bright future with these cruiserweights. They really do. It's better than anything I've ever seen in wrestling. That's saying a lot. Definitely saying a lot. All right, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to NXT. That's right. We're going to move on to NXT here. Okay. And we got NXT. Now, this episode of NXT, I will say, was a hell of a lot better than last week's. And we saw a lot of great actions here taking place. And the first thing that we get is we open up with a tag team match. We got some tag team action here. The team of TM61 versus Tony Nese and Aria Daivari. Now, obviously TM61 was looking to get back on track because they lost to the Authors of Pain 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn. But the thing about Tony Nese and Aria Daivari is the fact that some of you might remember these guys from the Cruiserweight Classic. Obviously, they're no longer in the Cruiserweight Classic. They got eliminated. But this is their chance to showcase their talent in NXT, which is what I like. The fact that a lot of these guys are getting chances to appear on NXT before the Cruiserweights go to Raw. And time will tell if they're going to bounce back and forth between that, or if some of them are going to Raw and some are going to NXT. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I just know that Nese and Daivari, you would have thought they've been a tag team for years. The chemistry they had in that ring. It was epic. It was amazing. It was definitely something that caught my attention and caught everyone else's attention. Like this, it was an intense fight between these teams. And because like when Nese and Daivari lack in size, they make up for in speed, and they inflicted an all-out assault on TM61. It was definitely their night to shine. And despite their tenacious opponents, TM61 remained resilient, ultimately delivering their finishing move, Thunder Valley, 1, 2, 3. The winners of the match, TM61. Now TM61 is a legit tag team in NXT. So I expected them to win the match. I saw this as a way to build them back up, to make them potential NXT tag team title contenders for the revival. But I did not expect Nese and Daivari to put on the match that they did. And I like the fact that, Aria Daivari, I think he's like the brother of the original Daivari that was in WWE years ago, and hopefully gets to pick up where his brother left off, and hopefully he gets a much better gimmick. Time will tell on that, but either way, these guys have amazing chemistry. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE decided to put them together as a tag team and make them go for the belts. Like, that's how good they were. I would actually keep Tony Nese and Aria Daivari in NXT and make them an NXT tag team. I would do that. Make them an NXT tag team. Then, once they become the tag team champions, or once you've built up a solid tag team division again, call them up to Raw and let them fight for the WWE World Tag Team titles and also make them fight for the Cruiserweight belt as singles competitors. But like I said, we're seriously lacking in tag teams, and I feel like these two guys, Tony Nese and Aria Daivari, could actually be a solid tag team. Their chemistry was that damn good. And when you got somebody in the ring like that whose chemistry is that damn good, you should capitalize on it. Like, make them fight as cruiserweights on Raw, but keep them in NXT as a tag team. Let them bounce back and forth. You know, use them to really build up your tag team division that is lackluster right now. And on that note, we're going to move on to the next segment here, which is a exclusive interview between Tom Phillips and the the NXT Women's Champion Asuka. Now, last week we heard from the NXT Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, and he got to share his thoughts on facing Samoa Joe and him ushering in the era of strong style. Well, Asuka at Brooklyn defeated Bayley in what would be her last match in NXT before she got called up to the Raw roster. But Tom Phillips is down with Bayley, and here's what she has to say. I mean, with Asuka, sorry. And here's what Asuka has to say about defeating Bayley at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn.
Asuka, thank you so much for joining me here today. And first of all, congratulations on your successful and emotional NXT Women's Championship defense at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn against Bayley. Tell us what was so special about that match.
The crowd in Brooklyn was crazy. I was excited. The match, I respect Bayley. Bayley was heart of NXT. Bayley fought hard, but I fought harder.
You debuted here on NXT last fall, and in a little less than a year's time, you remain undefeated, and you faced a very impressive list of NXT alumni and current Raw and SmackDown Live talent. Carmella, Emma, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss, and Bayley.
I have cleaned out the 4 women's division. Those women got saved because they don't have to face me anymore.
The current championship landscape here in NXT is you, of course, as NXT Women's Champion, and your countrymate, Shinsuke Nakamura, as NXT Champion. Much like the Olympics, you want to see your home country bring home the gold. How important is it to you to represent Japan as a champion?
The championship is the most important to me. I defend this title for myself and my country. To my fans in Japan. 私はこうやって海を越えてベルト取ったり活躍してますんで、これからも応援よろしくお願いします。
Well, you're obviously very passionate about it. All right, last question. Is there any superstar that you think is ready to challenge you for the NXT Women's Championship?
誰も私を倒すことできひんし、これからも現れへんと思う。No one is ready for us.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just say there were no subtitles when she spoke in Japanese, by the way. So I have no idea. Excuse me. I had no idea what the fuck she just said. in Japanese. Not a clue. Not at all. But obviously, a little bit of that was to be expected, but it was definitely a good interview by Asuka. Basically, she's making the point that no one is worthy of challenging for her title. No one is ready for Asuka. And Asuka pretty much just buried the whole women's division. Not just by being undefeated, but with those verbal words. Because technically she's right. There's nobody in that women's division right now that is capable of defeating Asuka. And all those women got called up. So Asuka said, I pretty much cleaned out the women's division. That she did. All the talent went up there. So, even though, yes, Asuka is the NXT Women's Champion, what is she really the champion of? Nothing. There's no talent left. Yeah, there's wrestlers, but nobody that's even close to being ready. Some of them don't even look like they'll ever be ready. Right now, Asuka has there's only one person on that roster that is capable of beating Asuka and becoming the NXT Women's Champion. There's only one. And that's Ember Moon, who we're going to talk about in just a minute. Ember Moon, right now, is the only person. There's nobody else. There's literally nobody else. You're going to look me in the eye with a straight face and tell me fucking Mandy Rose is going to do this? That bitch shouldn't even have a contract. Billie Kay, doubt it. Liv Morgan, doubt it. That one chick that was also in Tough Enough, but has kind of a MMA background, I doubt she's going to do it. There's no stars left unless they get some bigger acquisitions. Like I've been saying before, if Velvet Sky came to WWE, which I thought was going to happen since the Dudleys were here, but since it looks like the Dudley boys are retiring and leaving the company, I doubt Velvet Sky is going to come there. She may want to just retire with them. Or Velvet might come back. Despite the Dudleys, or might not come back, but debut there. You know, I was thinking maybe Gail Kim, after she gets inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame and her contract expires, she could leave TNA, come to NXT. You know, I know Gail Kim has talked about never again wanting to re-sign with the company, but I think now with WWE actually giving a shit about its women's division more than it ever has before, I see no reason why Gail Kim would never want to come back, would not want to come back. Yeah, you had a bad experience. Things are better now for the women. And it gives Gail Kim the chance to get some real action, which you're not going to see in TNA, especially with Maria Kanellis-Bennett as the fucking Knockouts champion. And Gail Kim can't challenge the Knockouts title anymore. So that probably means we're not going to see Maria and Gail Kim, even though that's the match we've all been fucking waiting for. So I really don't know who else she can face. I don't have a clue. I think Asuka's going to be champion, and I only see one of two things happening. Either Ember Moon's going to take that belt from her, or Asuka's going to get called up as the NXT Women's Champion, just like Paige did, and then eventually she'll win the Divas title in her debut or something like that, or the Women's title in her debut, and then she'll forfeit the NXT Women's title. Then there'll be a tournament to crown a new champion. Because other than Ember Moon, there's nobody else on that roster who is worthy of not only are they not worthy of challenging Asuka, they're not worthy of winning against Asuka. She would look like the biggest joke on the planet if any of the other women, minus Ember Moon, beat her for that title. It would make Asuka look like a joke, and it would make the NXT Women's title like a joke. Like, if that happened, like, Asuka could get a clean slate on the main roster, but she could never go back to NXT if any of those other women beat her. That's the fact of life. Because it would not look believable at all. And on that note, we're going to move on to the next matchup here. We got, as I mentioned before, I was mentioning Ember Moon. Ember Moon steps into the ring to go one-on-one with Leah Vaughn. Now, her name is Leah Vaughn, but I don't really know too much about her. Except if her name is Vaughn, I don't know if she's a member of the Von Erichs or not, because I know the Von Erichs are a legendary family. Let me see. Okay, well, I'm looking at Leah Vaughn, and she's not a member of the Von Erichs. She's actually a Canadian pro wrestler, formerly known as Leah Von Dutch, but they dropped the Dutch in WWE. And then she actually made her in-ring debut against Cherry Bomb, who, as I mentioned before, is, I believe, Allie. And that same month, she won an essay contest arranged by Edge, which had its grand prize, a scholarship for training at the Squared Circle Training in Toronto. And then she wrestled in Chikara. She's been in Shine Wrestling, which is geared towards women. And then she was in WWE as one of the Rosebuds. And then now she's an actual wrestler in the ring. So that's what we know about Leah Vaughn. Okay. I was intrigued. I had to find out. So anyway, Ember Moon goes one-on-one with Leah Vaughn. And this is pretty much Ember Moon dominating the match. Just beating, just hitting her with a fiery offense, putting her away with a sensational twisting stunner from the top rope, and just drops Leah Vaughn 1, 2, 3. So obviously they're building up Ember Moon. They're making her look dangerous. She's got like the blonde tips on her hair. She's got the red contact lenses that make her eyes look evil. She comes out with the veil over her face, and then takes it off when she gets in the ring. So Ember Moon definitely has a great, great gimmick, great look, and is amazing in the ring. And like I said, I see her now as the only person believable enough to end Asuka's streak. Assuming, of course, they want to end the streak. They might just call her up and make her undefeated. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what can happen with Asuka. I just know that there's that other than Ember Moon, Bayley was the only real chance they had at getting someone to realistically beat Asuka. Now we just have Ember Moon. And if Ember Moon doesn't beat Asuka for that women's championship, there's no one who's going to beat her for that belt. Because I guarantee you, if somebody else other than Ember Moon beats it, it'll make Asuka look like the biggest joke in NXT history. It will bury and kill everything that NXT has done to build up Asuka as this dangerous competitor. And it's It's something I'm worried about. But I think Ember Moon's going to do right. He's going to be the one to beat Asuka, end her streak, and become the NXT Women's Champion. Because really, you've got nobody else in NXT. The women's division is dead. It's alive and well on the main roster, but it is dead in NXT. And it's starting to get to the point now where NXT is, it's not as much of a top to bottom entertaining show as it once was. And on that note, we're going to move on to the next segment here, where, let me see, yeah. And basically what happens here is we cut to the backstage area with Steve Cutler, who is set to go into the main event against Shinsuke Nakamura, who will be wrestling in his first match since defeating Samoa Joe. And here's what Cutler has to say about facing the king of strong style.
Steve Cutler, you have your first opportunity to face the NXT champion Shinsuke Nakamura. What are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts? What are Steve Cutler's thoughts? My thought is, what has Shin actually sacrificed? Wrestling all over Japan? Then eventually coming here to the States to win the NXT championship? There's no sacrifice in that. There's no honor. I know what sacrifice is. I know what it means to sacrifice 4 years of my life to give up to have this opportunity. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you love me. And I for damn sure do not care if you hate me. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you will respect me.
Once again, Steve Cutler commanding respect. Well, I hate to break it to you, Cutler, but until you got to get a lot more wins under your belt, and you got to put on a hell of a lot more matches before anybody will begin to respect you. Because respect is not something you show automatically. Respect is something you earn. Steve Cutler, you ain't earned it yet. But one thing is certain, Steve Cutler is definitely a badass, which he displayed in the last week on NXT. And we'll see if he can display it against Shinsuke Nakamura. And on that note, we'll move on to the next matchup here. We have Austin Aries in the ring. And he goes one-on-one against Andrade Cien Almas. And basically this was from Cien was doing an interview last week. Austin Aries interrupted it. And then he backed down due to the injured ear he suffered at the hands of Hideo Itami's GTS. I will say that they did end up facing off this week, and they got a heated clash. This was a great match. Austin Aries and Andrade Cien Almas showed why they are two of the world's most respected wrestlers on the planet. Almas is one of the world's most respected luchadors and showed sensational acrobatic display. Austin Aries showed incredible just mat wrestling in general. The back and forth action between them was amazing. Austin Aries proving why he is the greatest man that ever lived and why he is so incredible in the ring. Austin Aries is truly one of the best wrestlers in the world, and in this match, he proved that. He was able to hang with Almas in the ring. They had amazing chemistry. Austin Aries showing off his veteran-like skills. I mean, this was a guy who was not afraid to whoop ass. And Almas, of course, hitting great suicide dives and planchas and spinning springboard moves off the ropes. I mean, these two guys were damn near ready to kill each other and took amazing pride in it. It was emotional, it was a war, and it was great. And then, of course, in the end, Austin Aries hits a modified powerbomb then eventually flips it over into the last chancery, and then Cien Almas in the middle of the ring taps out to the last chancery. And then in the end, after he taps out, the winner of the match, Austin Aries. And Austin Aries celebrates in the ring with his victory as Andrade Cien Almas is lying prone in the middle of the ring. So now Andrade has lost to both Bobby Roode and Austin Aries, which again has me thinking we're going to see a tag match eventually between Andrade Cien Almas and No Way Jose against the Dirty Heels. I see a Dirty Heels reunion coming up very soon. And speaking of Bobby Roode and No Way Jose, we cut to the backstage area now, where we see where we hear from No Way Jose, who was also interrupted in an interview by Bobby Roode. And here's what No Way Jose has to say about the Glorious One.
No Way Jose, how are you feeling this week after Bobby Roode blatantly disrespected you the last time you saw each other?
Bobby Roode comes in here with his nice jacket, great slacks, nice shoes, calls himself glorious, and disrespects me in front of the entire NXT universe. You see, I don't play that game. You think he's the first one to ever come up to me and disrespect me? No way. Have I ever stopped for anybody before? No way. Have I ever changed the way I look, changed the way I dress, even though I'm wearing all white after Labor Day? Oh, no way. So Bobby Roode is going to find out that you do not mess with No Way Jose.
Well, first of all, let me just say with No Way Jose, I can relate to the white, as I was talking about top of the show earlier. But another thing we definitely want to talk about with No Way Jose is next week on NXT, we are going to see No Way Jose versus Bobby Roode. And I predict that Bobby Roode is going to beat No Way Jose. And I think this is all going to lead to that tag team match. Like I said before, we're going to see the reunion of the Dirty Heels, Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. And they're going to take on Andrade Cien Almas and No Way Jose. And I see them becoming a team. And hopefully they become teammates and they stay that way for a while to go for the tag belts. Because I don't see any of those guys getting NXT title shots anytime soon. Unless you're planning on pushing one of them as a single star now, I'd say put them in as a tag team so the Revival has some realistic opponents. Because right now, their only realistic opponent is Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Now, speaking of which, last week, Tommaso Ciampa got jumped by the Revival and had severely injured ribs. So right now, we're going to cut to the backstage area with Gargano, with Tommaso Ciampa, sorry. And he's back there getting checked out by the trainer. And here's what unfolds during that moment.
Moving around has been okay? Okay, go ahead and switch side to side. Check it out. Hand up here.
Got the wrist. Ribs are fine. I'll be okay. Got the news for you, though. This came from Mr. Regal's office. He let me know if you're cleared, he's going to give us an opportunity next week in tag match at the Cruiserweight Classic Live special. We'll do fine. First things first. You cleared?
I think with a few more days of rest and really taking it easy, you should be fine to wrestle by next week.
So next week, at the Cruiserweight Classic, we show the world, we show Mr. Regal, not only are we 100%, we're better than ever. Then, Bible, look, man, they hurt us both. Let's hit them where it hurts the most. They're NXT tag team titles. Once the
So it looks like Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa are going to be involved in a tag team match taking place at the Cruiserweight Classic finale. So it looks like we're going to see more wrestling than just the semifinals and the finals, which I think is smart. I think the show should open with the 2 semifinal matches. Those should be the first 2 matches taking place. Then what you do is you let them go in the back, and for the rest of the night, just let them rest and relax. Get the energy that they need. Then you can have the match with Gargano and Ciampa against whoever their opponents might be. Throw in a couple segments, do something, and at the end of the night, have the main event once both men are well rested and healed up and ready to go after the intense battles that they're about to be in. So I say open the show with the 2 semifinal matches, close the show with the finals, and put some crazy shit in the middle. And hopefully whatever match Gargano and Ciampa get themselves involved in, I hope it leads to them, leads to them once again becoming, or once again getting a shot at, the NXT Tag Team Champions. Because as far as I'm concerned, they should be the champs right now. I don't know who the Revival, whose dicks they are sucking. Probably Triple H's. I don't know. To stay champion this goddamn long. But it's goddamn ridiculous. I feel like they're doing what they do with the New Day on the main roster. They're burying all the other tag teams to build up this one team that's killing the whole division. That's what the New Day is doing right now. Yeah, they themselves are up, but the tag team division is fucking dead. If Gallows and Anderson do not win the tag team titles at Clash of the Champions on the 25th of September, the Raw tag team division will be dead. And if Gargano and Ciampa don't beat the Revival, then they're dead. Then that tag team division is going to be dead too. Because they're not helping the cause at all. It's doing nothing to benefit that cause. And that's just how I feel about that. I hope Gargano and Ciampa win their match, the Cruiserweight Classic, and I hope they become the next NXT Tag Team Champions, and I hope it happens very, very soon. I would like that to be soon. I don't even want to wait for the next TakeOver special. Put the belts on them now. And on that note, we get to the main event of the evening, non-title match, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Steve Cutler. Now, the interesting thing about this match was that Nakamura pretty much beat the hell out of Steve Cutler. I mean, Steve Cutler got a little bit of an attack in briefly, but ultimately it would just, Nakamura was able to steamroll over Steve Cutler, hit him with the Shasha, and get the 1, 2, 3, and win the match. Now, what was interesting was that Samoa Joe was on commentary for the match. And the whole time, he sounded almost like he was humbled by Shinsuke Nakamura. Because Joe right now is currently injured. He has the dislocated jaw, which is, slowly healing up. But he has a lot of other injuries that were caught. So Samoa Joe right now is on the injured list. He can't really wrestle. So to have him on commentary, I think is great. And it shows that Samoa Joe might be making a potential face turn. He might not be a heel anymore. And which is going to be good because, it'll show that Samoa Joe can play both a face and a heel. And it shows that he was humbled by Nakamura, who not only beat Samoa Joe for the NXT title, but also put him on the injured list. Like eventually Samoa Joe walked away as, took off the headphones and he was staring down Nakamura, and he's sitting there and he's admitting that Nakamura was better than him on that night. But Samoa Joe says once he's healed up, he does plan on facing Nakamura again, and he does plan on regaining the NXT title. So that is definitely on Samoa Joe's to-do list. And part of me does hope to see Samoa Joe back in the ring really soon because he's tremendous talent, and I think that Nakamura is going to need a rematch, especially if Joe is staying in NXT for a while. Whether or not he regains the title, I don't know, but I do know that this rivalry between him and Nakamura is far from over. It'll be intriguing to see how they move forward with it. Will Joe be coming in as a man with mutual respect, or is he going to reignite that heel fire and beat down on Nakamura like a madman to get back the title that he believes to be rightfully his? And that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude the recap of NXT. That's 2 wrestling shows down, 1 more to go. And before we get to the Magic School Bus. So right now, we just wrapped up Cruiserweight Classic. We wrapped up NXT. Now we're going to talk about the Season 3 premiere of Lucha Underground. I have never been more excited for a wrestling show to return in my life than I am at this point in time. I love Lucha Underground. And, of course, my co-host, Elvis Delinsky, who used to be a full-time co-host, now he's a sporadic co-host. Elvis was the one who got me into Lucha Underground. He convinced me to watch it. We saw a couple episodes of Season 1, but not a whole lot. But I watched every episode of Season 2. You guys know this. I recapped every episode of Season 2. And I was so excited that a part of me was actually kind of disappointed that I couldn't see any more Lucha. Now, Lucha Underground has officially returned. We are on the Season 3 premiere. And I look forward to talking about all the craziness that went down. Now, the show opens up on a prison cell with Dario Cueto doing a bunch of pull-ups until a guard shows up to provide some interesting information. Dario Cueto. Because remember, at the end of Ultima Lucha 2, Dario Cueto was handcuffed, put in the back of a cop car, and taken to jail at the end of Season 3. Also, we saw Pentagon Jr. become Pentagon Dark. He turned on Vampiro and is no longer his maestro, no longer the master. And he broke the arm of Black Lotus and Dragon Azteca Jr. And of course, this all happened after he lost to Matanza Cueto and failed to catch the Lucha Underground Championship. And things just got crazier and crazier. Well, here's Dario in the jail cell, and here's what goes down. All right. Well, it's official. The temple is back in business. Now, obviously, there was a man with when they got into the limo, they talked about the charges being dropped and that there was a man with a distorted voice. And he reached out with what appeared to be an iron hand and basically said, if he wastes his time again, his next sentence will be death. Now, he said that. Now, the reason you can't hear that is because the man with the metal hand, with the iron hand, said it in Spanish. Which, again, I can't control when that happens. That's why I try to make sure the majority of it's in English. There's a couple parts of it in Spanish. And, the Spanish parts, they're going to show up. So I do what I got to do. But if the whole thing's in Spanish, then obviously I wouldn't have played it. What I loved about it was the fact that the prison guard, the security guard that was handing back Dario all his stuff, if you couldn't tell from the voice, if you watch it, you'll see it's actually the Honky Tonk Man, which I thought was awesome. To see the Honky Tonk Man in Lucha Underground like that. In fact, if the Honky Tonk Man could wrestle, that would be great. In fact, I don't know, wrestle or at least be a manager or something. I would love to see in fact, I think if Famous B puts together a new stable or puts together his own stable, I would love to see the Honky Tonk Man be in that stable because he looks like that's where he would be. Because Famous B is that 4-2-3 get fame. And who better to help you get fame than my new client, the Hall of Famer, Honky Tonk Man. Or the legend. Sorry, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. He deserves to be a Hall of Famer. I just don't know if he actually is in any Hall of Fame. But I do think it's awesome that, that the Honky Tonk Man got to appear on Lucha Underground. I thought was really cool. Especially since Honky Tonk Man, regardless of how you feel about him, he is a legend in the wrestling business. He's one of the best in-ring competitors of all time. And he was very popular, the ultimate Elvis impersonator. And it was probably one of the best gimmicks on the planet. And he proved that, sometimes no matter how goofy your character is, you can thrive in professional wrestling if you know how to deliver it properly and if you can get it done in the ring, which the Honky Tonk Man could always do. And now, of course, after all this, we cut inside the ring where Dario Cueto is standing in the ring, and Dario is basically back in the temple. He's happy to be back in the temple, and he decides to greet all the fans that are in the temple. And here's what Dario Cueto has to say about the return of Season 3 of Lucha Underground.
Mysterio is, my brother Vinny, y not the worker to win the title. So, it's time to spin the real title too and find out who gets the better one right now with my brother. Alright, let the suspense begin as Dario spins his title doom. Who will have this? Feel like this is a good opportunity to get off the Lucha Underground Championship.
All right. So we find out Son of Havoc gets a shot at the Lucha Underground Championship, which is actually fitting, seeing as how they had an opportunity. Son of Havoc won the special challenge to get a deal of a lifetime from Dario, and one of them was a chance at the Lucha Underground Championship. But then he had to face this Dr. something Lucha guy whose name I can't remember right now. And basically, if that guy won, he got the money. If Son of Havoc won, he got his title shot. So Son of Havoc ended up losing. So the other guy walked out with the money, which kind of pissed me off. So Son of Havoc looked like he was going to lose his title shot. But now, because of the Wheel of Opportunity, the Dial of Doom, he got the chance to defeat Matanza Cuerto. And I like this new concept from Dario, and I love the fact that these guys think outside the box with their matches. And because Lucha Underground is a TV show surrounded by wrestling, with wrestling in it, they're allowed to be more crazy, innovative, and out of control. And to me, that's what makes the match perfect. That's what makes the show perfect. The fact that they can pull off these amazing, insane stunts and ideas and concepts, and fans eat it up. And it's great. So Son of Havoc comes out to the ring, and we find out that Rey Mysterio Jr. is going to go up against Pentagon Dark. Holy shit. That's going to be an awesome match. Rey Mysterio, one of the greatest luchadors of all time. Nice to see that he's still in Lucha Underground. And you got Pentagon Dark, who is now reborn after Pentagon Jr. got injured by Matanza Cuerto. And now that he's by himself and Vampiro is no longer his master, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And of course, Vampiro is saying that he's not anybody's master or manager or anything. He just wants to be a commentator. Despite the fact that Dario is giving Vampiro all kinds of shit. I personally think it's only a matter of time before we see Vampiro get back in the ring. He's going to end up back in that ring, whether he's facing Pentagon Dark or if he gets Dario Cuerto in the ring. Something's going to happen. There's no way Vampiro is just going to stay out of the ring. Something's going to happen. Something is definitely going to happen. But anyway, we see the wheel is now on the wheel of Dial of Doom. We saw the Mac, Killshot, El Dragon Azteca Jr., Mariposa, Prince Puma, Dr. Wagner. That was it, Dr. Wagner and Son of Havoc. So Dr. Wagner was the one who beat Son of Havoc to win the money. to get a lot of money. And it landed on Son of Havoc. And Son of Havoc got the chance to face Matanza Cuerto. And I'm wondering if this is something that Dario is going to do every week. Just spin the wheel until somebody decides, until he beats everybody. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to be intriguing. But anyway, we have our first official match of the evening for the Lucha Underground Championship. It's not every day the world title opens a show. But Matanza defends the title against Son of Havoc. And this match reminded me why I am a huge fan of Lucha Underground. This match was Lucha perfection right here with what we saw. Lucha Underground was amazing. These guys battling it out in the ring to determine who the best is. At one point, we saw Matanza do a standing moonsault, and then as soon as he got back on his feet, immediately did a standing shooting star press. But Son of Havoc was still able to kick out. And then, of course, Son of Havoc hitting multiple high-flying spots, you know, taking everything out. Like, these guys literally took to the air in amazing ways. And Matanza showed that he is truly amazing in the ring. And he's not just some big, stupid monster that's moving slow like a giant. He can actually freaking, you know, maneuver in the ring. And then at one point, Havoc goes for TDT, but Matanza catches him midair. And Havoc transitions to a guillotine choke, which damn near wins in the match. Because at one point, he actually has, you know, Matanza fading and trying to get him out of the ring or whatever. Then, of course, in the end, Havoc goes for a 450 splash. Matanza ducks out of the way. Matanza then launches Havoc in the air and plants him with his finisher, the Wrath of the Gods. And 1, 2, 3, the winner of the match. And still, the Lucha Underground champion, Matanza. Now, I like Son of Havoc. And a part of me wishes he'd have won this match and became Lucha Underground champion. But at the same time, you know, obviously want to maintain Matanza's dominance. But my big question is, if Matanza defeats damn near everyone on the roster, if he defeats the entire roster, who's going to be left? What's going to happen? You know, it's like I've said before, there is such a thing as overkill when it comes to booking people. And they're doing that right now with Matanza. They're just having him bury everyone. And I'm assuming they're doing this so that Dario's Dial of Doom can take place every week. Until finally someone does eventually beat Matanza Cuerto. Because I know eventually it is going to happen. But the question is, who now is going to beat him? Matanza has laid waste to every credible contender that there is. I don't know how Matanza can possibly lose that championship. I don't see it. It's going to be interesting. I felt Son of Havoc had the most realistic shot, and they kind of threw that away, which, you know, kind of disappoints me. But the point is, both these men are still incredible wrestlers who put on a hell of a match. So I can't be that upset about it. I'm just concerned with how much longer they're going to push Matanza before he finally loses. And who's he really going to lose to is the other question. But on that note, we cut to the backstage area where apparently there could be somebody that wants a shot now, as Johnny Mundo, along with Taya Valkyrie, PJ Black, and Jack Evans, walk into Dario Cueto's office, and Johnny Mundo demands a shot at the Lucha Underground Championship. But Dario Cueto has something else in mind, like he always does. And here's what happens between Dario and the former Trios champions.
Wow, citizen the worldwide underground. What do I owe the pleasure? I'm sick of waiting, Dario. I want the Lucha Underground Championship. Then want it now. Now. Why are you giving title matches to a D-bag loser like Son of Happy? When you know the people want just final. Why, Johnny? Your name is from Dario's Diamond Bill. Maybe the fortune is in so you. I make my own fortune. Give my title match. Well, Johnny, the last time you were in my ring, you lost the Trios titles. It was only because of an hour ago. You took care of him.
Well, that was certainly an interesting segment right there. So basically, Johnny Mundo is demanding a shot at the championship. The only problem is, he lost the Trios titles to Phoenix, Aerostar, and Drago. So at Ultima Lucha Dos. So obviously they're not in any position to be getting any title shots. But they pretty much show that they beat down Angelico, who was the reason they lost those belts in the first place. Because apparently, Worldwide Underground, which is now the new name of this team, the Worldwide Underground, pretty much they were the reason Angelico suffered his unfortunate accident. They confessed to it in the beatdown scene they showed, where they pretty much beat the hell out of him and then crushed his leg in a car door the night of Ultima Lucha. So basically, after he cost them the belts, they jumped him in the parking lot. And now Angelico is now once again has an injured leg and is once again now sitting on the sidelines. So it looks like that will no longer be a problem, but he's still not giving him a title shot. So then Johnny Mundo wants to give the Gods title, but he doesn't deserve that either. So now Taya is facing Sexy Star for the Gift of the Gods championship. And let me just say, I look forward to that. Taya is an incredible wrestler. She's a great competitor. I think it was Ivelisse. Yeah, she beat Ivelisse at Ultima Lucha Dos with help from Katrina. Katrina kind of came out and helped Taya win the match and then beat down on Ivelisse by herself. And obviously these two have been in a huge rivalry for a long time, all going back to when Katrina was running the temple at the beginning of season 2. And now Dario's back in charge, so Katrina doesn't really have a whole lot to do except manage Mil Muertes, and then destroyed Ivelisse and then gave her the sexiest lick of death I had ever seen her do. And now Ivelisse so that's going to be a hell of a rivalry. So now Taya and Sexy Star are going to fight for the Gift of the Gods Championship. I hope Sexy Star wins because I definitely want to see Sexy Star go all the way with it. Become Lucha Underground champion eventually, because Sexy Star to me is the top women wrestler in Lucha Underground and probably one of the best women wrestlers in the world. If she ever came to NXT or WWE, I think she would dominate. I mean, right now she's got a good thing going with Lucha Underground, so I wouldn't want her to walk away from that. But she is definitely one of the best female wrestlers on the planet. And if anyone deserved to be Get the Gods champion, it's definitely Sexy Star. And if anyone deserves to be Lucha Underground champion, it is definitely Sexy Star. And that's the beautiful thing about Lucha Underground. They don't have a women's championship or a women's division. Everybody fights everybody. It's the most equal form of professional wrestling that there is. And because it's more of a TV show than a wrestling show, they get away with a lot of shit, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But either way, obviously, Johnny Mundo's going to have to wait a little while for his championship run. I think when Angelico comes back, he's definitely going to get into a rivalry with Worldwide Underground. Whether or not he has his own team with him or not remains to be seen. But I do know that Angelico definitely is going to have vengeance on his mind. Hopefully he can come back before Ultima Lucha 3 and maybe get a match there. I don't know. But on that note, we cut back to the ring where Ivelisse is standing in the middle of the ring. And obviously she's got something to say about Katrina and what went down at Ultima Lucha 2. Ivelisse is known as the baddest bitch in the building. And here's what the baddest bitch has to say.
Katrina has cost me my Ultima Lucha matches twice. Now this has made me realize two very important things. Number one, how badly I want my first Ultima Lucha win. And number two, how badly I want to crush Katrina's skull into the ground. Katrina, I want you one-on-one at Ultima Lucha 3. How about it? Bring it on, bitch.
Thanks, Doc. So much.
You're dead.
Well, we don't even know when Ultima Lucha 3 will take place, but we do know that we have our first match for the American set. Ivelisse versus Katrina.
Now that is awesome. And that is exactly what I was hoping would happen. Ultima Lucha 3, the season 3 finale. Ivelisse versus Katrina. And of course, Katrina once again calling her a bitch. That's going to be awesome because, again, I can't recall if Katrina has ever actually wrestled inside the ring because, again, I have not seen season 1. so I'm not familiar with whether or not Katrina has actually been in a ring and wrestled. I know she didn't fight in season 2. But season 1, I don't know. But if this is the first time Katrina's ever stepped into a ring, that is going to be an incentive. And in the weeks leading up, we're going to see Ivelisse and Katrina play mind games, get into fights, maybe have security break it up. I don't know. But if they build this story right in the weeks leading up, Ultima Lucha Tres is going to become even more amazing and more intense than Ultima Lucha Dos. And we already have a match set for that. And I want to see how they tell this story going forward, because Ivelisse is an amazing competitor. Katrina is amazing on the mic and great at mind games. And if she wrestles as good as she does everything else in the wrestling business, this match is going to tear the house down. This could be the match of the night candidate. This could be the only women's match I could see maybe topping Sexy Star and Mariposa in the No Mas match. And we're about to move on to Sexy Star and Taya Valkyrie for the Gift of the Gods Championship, but I do see we have a caller on the line, so we'll take a moment, take this call, see what's on the person's mind here. And hello, you're on the Boochcast.
Vinny Bucci, the Booch Master. How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Me, Derek Shapiro.
Oh, Lord
I got
help
some
us.
excellent news for you.
Okay, what's the good news?
All right. Well, I don't know if you know this, but I have a new show on cable, which Derek Shapiro's Power Half Hour. Okay.
Okay.
And I want you to do some segments on there too. Well, I'm in the whole state of Rhode Island. I'm in Salem, Massachusetts, and I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I'm trying to call it Duluth, Georgia, because you live in the Duluth, Johns Creek area.
Yeah.
Well, today I was trying to call Athens, Georgia. Instead of me calling Athens, Georgia, guess where I called today?
Who'd you call?
Athens, Ohio.
There's an Athens, Ohio?
Correct. So it's confirmed. I don't know what time yet. I just got the phone with this guy named Matt. I'm going to be shown in Athens, Ohio as well. So that means when you do your Booch segment on the Derek Shapiro's Power Half Hour, that means you will be shown in Duluth, Minnesota and Athens, Ohio.
Everybody's dream.
That's right. We'll be like joining the works of Drew Carey. Because we're both heavy, we're both Ohio now too,
Yeah. Except Drew Carey was from Cleveland.
The thing is, I'm sorry?
I said Drew Carey was from Cleveland.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not far from Athens, Ohio, but it is awesome. You know what I'm saying? So now I'll have Ohio connection. I'm telling you, Ohio. And they have a big Halloween block party out in Ohio on Halloween. So it is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How was Vegas, by the way? Vegas is awesome, huh?
Oh, yes. Amazing, life-changing 4 days of some of the best 4 days of my life, man. That was a trip that I needed to have both for my career and for my sanity.
Well, you said also off the air. You said last night on Facebook, you said you wish I was out there in the same room, in the same hotel with you, huh?
No, you said, do you wish I was there? I said, not really. And what I meant by that was that I didn't necessarily wish you were there, but I would have been okay if you were. Like, you have to understand, Derek, where I was involved in a festival that you have to actually register to be in. So, and it's a comedy festival, so you have to actually, you got to be a stand-up comic, and 2, you got to go through, a comedy competition. I mean, you can come out whether you win or lose for the experience, but it's going to cost you a good deal of cash.
Well, and how much cash did you get?
Well, I didn't actually get any money. It just cost me money to go out there. But I lucked out because I shared a hotel room with 3 other comics. So I gave them $45 and I had a place to stay. The only thing I had to pay for was my plane ticket.
Now, Vinny, some good news is you don't have to co-host the monthly show with me much anymore because I'm going to take the back seat because I have so many other shows going on. I'm going to let you do the full force of my monthly show with Ricky.
Wait, so the monthly show is now becoming my responsibility?
Well, I mean, you know how long it takes to tape the show, monthly, but you and Ricky Ross are gonna be the co-host monthly. You know, I'm still gonna be on there with my celebrity interviews. Like this month, I'm gonna have on the what do you call it from Seinfeld, the soup Nazi. No soup for you, Vinny. No soup for you.
The soup Nazi?
Yeah, it's gonna be on this month. Yeah.
Who the fuck is the soup Nazi?
Seinfeld. Remember Seinfeld?
No, Derek, I didn't watch Seinfeld. I'm probably the only person on the planet who's never seen an episode of Seinfeld.
You gotta watch the wrestling episode of Seinfeld.
I never got into that show. I tried to watch it, but it just didn't interest me.
Well, you're like George. You're like George on the show. Okay? I'm like Seinfeld. I'm George. You know. You're George. Costanza.
Yeah, well, George is played by Jason Alexander, who's a great actor, you know, and Seinfeld was actually great for him because before Seinfeld, his biggest claim to fame was Pretty Woman and being known as the guy who raped Julia Roberts.
True, and you know who Kramer is, right?
Yes, he's the guy whose career went completely in the toilet when he went on a racist rant at the Laugh Factory.
Well, no, but I think Jerry Truman's like a Kramer. You're like George Costanza, and I'm like Jerry Seinfeld. And then, of course, Stacey Lewis is like Elaine.
I'd have to watch the show to really get that understanding.
But the Sid Nazi is like your brother.
What?
The Sid Nazi is like Sonny Bucci.
Okay. I guess that, yeah, for personal reasons, that would probably make a lot of sense.
No, I don't know. I'm just doing comparisons out of my ass. But the Sid Nazi is going to be on there. Whoever knows Seinfeld, the Sid Nazi is going to be on the monkey show. And I mean, I can do the monthly show, but I think I'm on too many shows. And my monthly show is the elite monthly show. I never want to give that up. But for me to be a host of so many shows, I'm going to give you the rank of that show with Ricky Ross and Joe Beck. Okay?
Oh,
because you deserve it. You three deserve it.
Okay. Well.
And it gets a chance for you guys to make fun of me when I'm not there.
Derek. The fact that you're now making this my responsibility, I can't not make fun of you. In fact, the opening segment of every monthly show will be me tearing you a new asshole for now putting this burden on me as if I don't have enough shit going on. So that will be the start to every show. Not only that, I mean, it's easy for me to co-host with Gator, but now I got to co-host with Joe Bag, who I barely freaking know.
You're not on the show.
I interviewed him once. That don't make us friends, okay? Not that I'm not saying I hate Joe Bag or anything. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Just because I interviewed somebody once doesn't make us besties, all right? At least with Gator, I've had him on the show a few times. I've talked to him off the air. So I got a chemistry with Gator.
Now, Gator's listening. I recently missed a call from him on Facebook. He Facebooked me. when you called me on Facebook, I didn't mean to ignore you. I knew that you called. I was just doing other stuff. But I was at a place where I couldn't really speak to you at that time. There's other people around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Gator, I would have said out loud, "See you later, Gator," or he said, "I said after a while, crocodile." You know.
Well, yeah. You can always send him a Facebook message. He checks his Facebook regularly, and just say, "Hey, sorry I missed your calls.
Sure,
I was working." Just let him know. He understands. He's not. Gator's not a dick. Like, he understands if people have shit to do. You know, I'm home doing work, computer work. So I'm usually able to answer the phone when he calls. So I've sat on the phone with him for an hour or so talking ideas, which is tough for me, because I don't like sitting on the phone for long extended periods of time. But I try to do it. Most of the time I got to do it anyway.
Did you play my new trailer yet for Horror Night Part 2?
Honestly, Derek, with everything that happened in Vegas, I totally forgot you released the trailer till just now. So I'm going to start playing it now. I'll play it tomorrow.
Did you listen to Living in Fear yet?
Have I what?
Have you listened to the song Living in Fear?
No, I have not done that.
Okay, because that has a lot of metal in there. It's kind of like a very rock and roll version.
Okay.
And it goes along with Horror Night Part 2, and you're in the video.
Okay, is it
on YouTube? So you're in the video.
Is it in you? Did you message both of those to me? Can I find it fast?
Yes, you can.
All right, good. Then after the show, I'll go back and I'll go find it.
Yes, and Sonny's in the video too. So Sonny, because you kill your own brother in the movie.
Yeah, I know. I got to fulfill a lifelong dream.
Well, I think your lifelong dream is killing me, but that's not going to happen.
Well, obviously, Derek, I've known my brother longer than I've known you. Yours is more of a recent. Killing you is more of a recent dream. I've been.
You have a long life dream and a recent dream.
Here's the thing. I don't know how many horror nights you're gonna make, but in the very last one, I hope my character gets to be the one that turns and kills Rottweiler. Then I'd be happy.
I'll be very happy. I might just make 20 just to aggravate you, so you always have like 20 horror nights.
The fuck is this, Halloween?
My character.
Wait a minute. 20? Who the hell do you think you are? Jason Voorhees? 20 horror nights? You out of your fucking mind? That's 20 movies of the same fucking people. What the hell are you thinking? How many times can we all kill each other, Derek? 20 is unrealistic, even for this joke.
I make 40. I make 40 and the top right out. I just retire Rottweiler.
Oh my God. Yep. Folks, he's kidding. He damn well better be kidding. I'm not doing 20 horror nights. Fuck that.
Hey, come on. How many Rockies are there? Like 30?
Well, technically there's 7, but the 7th one was not really a Rocky film because it didn't really revolve around Rocky. It revolved around Apollo Creed. Because the 7th one was called Creed. It was revolved around the fact that apparently Creed years ago had cheated on his wife and had an illegitimate son. And the illegitimate son gets adopted by Creed's wife. She decides to adopt him and raise him, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen a woman do. You're pretty much, because what happens is the illegitimate child, his mother dies. So now he's pretty much an orphan. He has no family. And Creed's wife tracks him down and basically adopts the side baby, which is basically what he's doing.
Really?
So he adopts the kid, raises him, and he actually gets like a real job and fights on the weekends. but then decides to quit his job and become a professional boxer. And in the process, the mom kicks him out of the house because she already went through all that shit with Apollo. She doesn't want to go through it again. So she pretty much disowns him, essentially. And then he moves to Philadelphia, tracks down Rocky Balboa because he's heard stories about Rocky and Apollo and the fights that they've had and the friendship they formed after their rivalry. And he tracks down Rocky and convinces Rocky to train him. And then they kind of pretty much form this bond and become like family. Because, yeah, and it's basically Rocky's training Apollo Creed's son for the big time. And then they have this, and it leads to an epic boxing match at the end. So it's technically in the Rocky series, but it's not considered a Rocky movie because it's not about Rocky getting back in the ring. It's about Rocky being like, Rocky basically takes on the role of Mick, like the old-timey trainer that teaches Creed's son how to box the right way.
Sure. So you know, I mean, how many Rockies there is? Maybe there'll be not many Horror Nights. Who knows? I mean, Joe Bag loved the Horror Night franchise I've done. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
But who knows? You know
Well, the thing is this, Derek. I'm not saying I don't like the Horror Night franchise. I'm just saying that there's only so many sequels you can do with it because A, there's only so many times you can do it before people eventually get sick of it, and B, you don't have a lot of actors to work with. So unless you plan on doing some kind of casting call through like Craigslist or something, you're not going to have enough actors to do that.
True. But how I do the Horror Night is revitalize the actors. But I mean, you'll see that Horror Night Part 2.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Because that's the thing, Derek. You kill people as Rottweiler, and then they come back and work for you. What I'm saying is that unless you make a movie where everyone's turning on each other, you're not going to have anywhere to go with the story.
True. I mean, I got some new actors in this movie in the Horror Night Part 2. I got some new actors. I mean, Jerry Truman's a new actor in this one.
Yeah.
And I got this new lady, Patricia, who is actually a security guard for real life. She's not doing security guard work anymore. But I introduced this new Patricia lady. So it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be very interactive. There's gonna be a new spin on this Horror Night. A little bit of old spin, but a little bit of new spin. But I think some of the things that you said in consideration off the air. So I think it's going to be a very delightful way I'm spinning this. So anyway, but I got to get going. I have 6% on my phone left. My phone charger in my car does not work, or the system on my car does not work. But I just want to tell you some good news about my show going to be out in Athens, Ohio, and Horror Night Part 2. So I just a pleasure speaking with you, Vinny. I'm glad you got back safe from Vegas. You know.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you called in, and I give Derek a lot of shit, but seriously, if you live in Duluth, Minnesota, Athens, Ohio, Salem, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, wherever it's at, make sure you guys check out the Derek Shapiro half-hour Power Hour.
Thank you very much, Vinny. I love you, Vinny. I mean, I'm telling you, I promote your show every day, the Boochcast, and I just love promoting your show. It's just the thing that I have to do because you deserve the best too. You know what I'm saying? Me and you out there are the hardest working independent radio and TV people that I know. You know what I'm saying? And you deserve all the best on the daytime fighting league too. So me and you, I think we work very hard. You know?
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you. So good job to you too, and I'm very happy for you in Vegas too. That you did good. So anyway, peace out. Okay.
All right. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
See ya. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Derek Shapiro. I'm going to be honest. I thought that was Elvis Delinsky when I took the call, but all right. Either way, it was Derek. Make sure you guys check out all his shows. And like I said, tomorrow I'll play the trailer for Horror Night Part 2, and I'll get the music, Living in Fear, and I'll play that tomorrow here on the show because I don't have it with me right now, so I'll play it tomorrow. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get back to Lucha Underground, and we got the Gift of the Gods Championship. Sexy Star defends against Taya Valkyrie. And this match was, I'd say it was well done. Great women wrestling right here. Great luchador style wrestling, or luchadora, or whatever the female version of lucha is. I really don't know. Don't care. But these girls put on one hell of a fight. Sexy Star, Taya, I was very impressed. I think, these women had great chemistry in the ring, at least against each other. And then, of course, Sexy Star did a flying X Factor off the ring apron. Star rolls Taya back in the ring, goes for the pin. Taya kicks out. Taya plants Star with an explosive suplex. And then all of a sudden, PJ Black, Jack Evans, and Johnny Mundo come down to the ring. Taya accidentally hits PJ Black. Star hits the small package on Taya. For the inside cradle, I should say. 1, 2, 3. The winner of the match, and still get to the Gods champion, Sexy Star. And I'm really glad that the interference didn't screw over Sexy Star. Because I definitely love the fact that Sexy Star won the 7-way match to become the Gift of the Gods champion. And like I said before, I want to see Sexy Star become the Lucha Underground champion. I know you're probably thinking, you actually think Sexy Star could beat Matanza Cuerto? I don't know, but I hope he does. I hope she does if the time ever comes. I really do. I hope she does. And, of course, after the match, PJ Black, after the match, Taya, Jack Evans, and Johnny Mundo triple team Sexy Star. Eventually, PJ Black gets in the ring as well, and we see a 4-on-1 assault on Sexy Star, which, again, the men and the women not afraid to beat, not afraid to fight each other. They are literally all beating the hell out of Sexy Star. And then all of a sudden, Aerostar, Drago, and Phoenix storm into the ring to make the save. So, of course, they all come out to back up Sexy Star because, of course, Aerostar, Drago, and Phoenix are the trios champions. And, of course, they were the ones that defeated Johnny Mundo, PJ Black, and Jack Evans to win those belts at Ultima Lucha 2. And I think that this should lead to a 4-on-4 match next week. That's what I want to see. I want to see champions versus non-champions. Sexy Star, the Get to the Gods champion, teaming up with the trios champs to take on the Worldwide Underground. I think it would be a great match. We should see it. 4-on-4. Make it happen next week. 8-person tag. I think that would definitely be awesome. It's a match I think that's a match we'd all look forward to seeing. But either way, Sexy Star pulls off one hell of a match. And it definitely was highly entertaining. Blah. Excuse me. And on that note, we're going to cut back to the backstage area where we see Dario Cuerto sitting in his office when all of a sudden in walks Marty the Moth Martinez. And apparently he has something to say to Dario Cuerto because apparently Marty gave some help to Dario when he was in the pen.
Was it the pen? Yeah, I don't know. Music was nice. I'll call you back.
All right. Well, apparently Marty the Moth Martinez had some members of the Aztec tribe that were in jail, and apparently they were instrumental in making sure Dario didn't get messed up in jail. But at the same time, Dario wants to keep the fact that he was in prison under wraps. Sorry. At least for the time being. And ultimately, now Killshot wants his dog tags back. And of course I hear him say, I'm done with him. And he's like, well, apparently he's not done with you. I like that. Because I'm noticing Marty the Moth Martinez is still wearing the dog tags around his neck. I feel that now that we're in season 3 of Lucha, I feel like this is a rivalry that needs to end. And I think this Weapons of Mass Destruction match is a great way to end the rivalry. I think it's a great way for these guys to end everything. They're going to go to war. It's going to be violent. It's going to be next week. And it should probably be the main event. That should be the main event of next week's Lucha Underground. Should be Marty the Moth Martinez and Killshot. I think Killshot needs to win. He needs to get his dog tags back. And once Killshot has his dog tags back, Marty the Moth Martinez can move on to another rivalry. There's no reason for this to continue, and there's no reason for Marty to have the dog tags anymore. He looks stupid with them anyway. It does nothing to benefit the show, and it's not doing anything at all, Score, to help his character. So let's just put this rivalry to bed. Let's put an end to it. Let's kill it dead and let Killshot get his dog tags back. Let's do this. Let's end this. And I think Weapons of Mass Destruction is a great way to end it. And again, it's something new and innovative that Lucha Underground is doing. And the best part is they can go to these extremes because, like I said, the TV show is surrounded by wrestling. And because they don't have to worry about being PG or family friendly. They can be men and women and grown adults and cater their show to actual grown adults. Just makes everything better. And on that note, we will move on to the main event of the evening. Rey Mysterio versus Pentagon Dark. Cero Miedo. This match was awesome. This is true luchador wrestling right here. Two of the best in the world. Rey Mysterio, the greatest luchador of all time, versus Pentagon Dark, the man who I believe to be the best in Lucha Underground today. If anybody deserves to be Lucha Underground champion, it is definitely Pentagon Dark. I mean, he's truly the most badass character in this show. He's truly the best. I don't know anyone better than Pentagon Dark. It's perfect. It's wonderful. It's a great, great show. A great, great match. And a great, great wrestler. And of course, these guys go back and forth with everything. Mysterio playing Pentagon with a DDT on the outside. You know, Rey Mysterio able to counter Pentagon move for move. And Pentagon going for covers but not hooking the leg, which is something that bugged Vampiro a lot even though Vampiro is no longer his master. He said that's something that he never ever learned, even though at times Pentagon Dark would play mind games and point at Vampiro to the point where Vampiro eventually had to get up and leave because he just couldn't be out there, because otherwise he would feel the urge to beat up on Pentagon for kicking him to the curb the way he did at Ultima Lucha Dos and leaving him the bloody mess that he was at the end of the show. But overall, these guys put on a match for the ages. And in the end, Mysterio connects with 619 and then plants Pentagon with the Canadian Destroyer, the somersault powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. The winner of the match, Rey Mysterio. And of course, Pentagon was no slouch in the ring with the multiple super kicks that he gave, and came very close on many occasions to taking out Pentagon, to taking out Rey Mysterio. But of course, being distracted by wanting to taunt Vampiro ultimately is what cost Pentagon Dark the match. Then after the match, Pentagon drops Mysterio with a running crucifix powerbomb. And then he goes for the sacrifice, which is the arm bar, the way of like breaking the arm. And he's struggling to break Rey Mysterio's arm. But then all of a sudden, Dragon Azteca Jr. comes out and makes the save, because he remembers getting his arm broken at Ultima Lucha Dos. But since then, Dragon Azteca Jr. has been able to heal up from the injury. And he may not be fully 100% healed, but I'm assuming he is, since he was in Dario's Dial of Doom. But at least he came out to help Rey Mysterio, who is his buddy, who is his mentor, and was able to, help El Rey get the victory. And, Rey Mysterio and Pentagon Dark had a hell of a match. It was amazing to see. I look forward to seeing what happens with Rey Mysterio in the coming weeks. I look forward to seeing what happens with Pentagon Dark. And, of course, the big question, is Vampiro going to get involved? Are we going to see Vampiro and Pentagon Dark get in the ring ever? I think something's going to happen at Ultima Lucha Tres. I think at some point Vampiro is going to come back, is going to get in that ring, and we're going to see Vampiro and Pentagon Dark. And there's a chance that I think Vampiro is going to beat Pentagon Dark. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Pentagon Dark is going to be humbled by Vampiro. Assuming he's not humbled already, seeing as how he's already lost 2 matches. He lost to Matanza at Ultima Lucha Dos, and he lost to Rey Mysterio. And this is since he made the transformation from Pentagon Jr. to Pentagon Dark. But either way, the match was amazing, and Pentagon now has a rivalry, I think, with at least with Dragon Azteca. I see him and Dragon Azteca Jr. going at it in the coming weeks. In fact, I think Black Lotus can make a comeback, and she might align herself with Dragon Azteca Jr. to go up against Pentagon Dark, because she got her arm broken too. Assuming that Black Lotus is still with the company. Otherwise, they might have just written her out with that broken arm. I don't know. But Pentagon Dark has made himself a lot of enemies, and we're going to find out if he can handle it. And then, after the match is over, we cut to the backstage area again, where we see Prince Puma sitting in a locker room by himself, still trying to process the fact that he lost to Rey Mysterio at Ultima Lucha Dos, until he gets greeted by a wise man who wants to give him some advice.
again, you want to be the man again, you got to take over this. I'm surprised you're not asking me to take out Pentagon for you. Yeah, brother. This ain't about me. It's all about you.
Well, I guess Prince Puma, I guess Vampiro made a very valid point. Because apparently, and this happened in season 1, apparently, where Prince Puma lost, a match. And I can't remember who Conan was, but he lost Conan, who was his mentor and his trainer, because of Mil Muertes getting rid of his trainer, who was Conan. Because Conan used to be involved in Lucha Underground for a long time, too. But apparently, Prince Puma has to settle the score with Mil Muertes before he can, set things right in his own career. And because Prince Puma was the first ever Lucha Underground champion. I can't remember if Mil Muertes was the one who took the belt from him or not. But I do know he sat atop the throne for most of the week as Lucha Underground champion. And I think Prince Puma does need to set things right. So the big question is, are we going to see a rivalry form between Prince Puma and Mil Muertes? Will it lead? Is it going to end before Ultima Lucha Tres or at Ultima Lucha Tres? That's going to be the question. Because I'm starting to think that everything's going to build up to Ultima Lucha Tres. We already know that Ivelisse and Katrina are going to face off at Ultima Lucha Tres. And that's going to be the big rivalry that is going to need to come to an end. And if we do decide to see Prince Puma and Mil Muertes take place, it'll be intriguing. I think Prince Puma is going to defeat Mil Muertes, but I think here's what's going to happen. Since Vampiro is no longer the master of Pentagon, I think Vampiro is going to start training Prince Puma. I think Prince Puma is going to be his new protege, and I think that Prince Puma will look to Vampiro as a master, a mentor, and somebody that will help him get his life back on track. That's what I foresee. And then eventually, I think that Prince Puma is going to face Pentagon Dark if Vampiro doesn't fight him himself. We're going to see some action here. And I think he might lead Prince Puma back to the promised land. I can foresee that happening in Lucha Underground. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude the Lucha Underground recap. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a short break here. And when I come back, I will close out the show with a recap of Season 3 of the Magic School Bus. So sit tight, everybody. I will be back right after this. As soon as I can find what I wanted to play. Where is it? There it is. All right. Found the song. I'll be back right after this.
Shout through the sun, and you're to blame. Down here you give love a bad name. Fashion
Hello and welcome back to the Boochcast. During the break, we played the song You Give Love a Bad Name, a song originally done by one of my favorite artists, Bon Jovi. But, of course, that was not Bon Jovi playing the song. That song was covered by my good friend, Desmond Dagenhart. And he's, of course, my Friday co-host here on the Boochcast, and a man who sadly did not make it to the top 10 of the Nash Next country music contest, which he brought up on his Boochcast episode that he did on Friday, September the 2nd, while I was away in Las Vegas. So if you want to check out Desmond all by himself, make sure you check out that episode, the Desmond Dagenhart Show Part 3. Make sure you tune in after this episode, of course. When you're done watching this, listening to this, you can go back, check that one out. If you want to hear more from Desmond Dagenhart. And, of course, go to facebook.com/Desmond Dagenhart, DesmondDagenhart. Like the page, follow his music, continue checking out his progress. You can check out all of Desmond's music there. He's an incredible talent and an incredible addition to the Boochcast as well. And hopefully he'll be on the show with me tomorrow. If he is not, then I will use that time to recap season 4 of the Magic School Bus. And speaking of the Magic School Bus, on that note, just a moment here. Got to take a drink. We'll jump into season 3 of the Magic School Bus. As I mentioned before, this is part of my Netflix binge watching. Even though I've mostly been watching Arrow, I have not had a chance to talk about these last 2 seasons of the Magic School Bus. And like I said, season 1 of Arrow will be discussed Monday on the show with my good friend Zach. But while we wait for that date, let's jump into season 3. Season 3 of the Magic School Bus is still one of the most interesting ones in terms of, guest appearances as well as the educational aspect of everything. And as I mentioned before, this is definitely the perfect show for children and in terms of education. I honestly believe that if you're a teacher and you have a Netflix account, you should find a way to get permission from the school to access that account and allow people to play this, especially if you're a science teacher. Because almost everything you teach in a science class comes out in this show. In fact, I look at all this, I can't recall anybody else really needing this. This is more of like a science level class. Like if you have, and I'm talking children, like kids, if you got middle and high school kids, you don't necessarily need to use the Magic School Bus on them. You can use Bill Nye the Science Guy for them. But we'll start off with the first episode here. We've got the Magic School Bus in a beehive. Basically, this episode was to educate people on honeybees. When Wanda and Tim were delivering honey from Tim's grandfather's bee farm, their cart had tipped over, and all the jars had broken. Desperate to replace the ruined honey, the class then learns about the life cycle of bees to make them honey. When they accidentally lead a bear to the hive, the class ends up having to help the bees replace their lost supply of food, as well as replacing Wanda's and Tim's merchandise. In the end, a customer tells them that the honey they made is the best tasting yet. So luckily they're able to solve the problem, and it teaches you all about honeybees and how, they basically go out and they, pollinate flowers, the importance of that, but also how they make the honey and the fact that, they make the honey as their own source of food, and that it takes, how long it takes to make the honey, even though it does take a decent amount of time or a large amount of time. Obviously, got to shorten it in a 30-minute show, which they explain in their little hotline at the end. But ultimately, the bees, they make the honey as their own, brand of food. But also, obviously, we, as human beings, we take the honey to make and to sell and distribute and give out to people. And that's why we have bee farms where we can access the honey. And of course, most bee farmers that are humane, at least, they at least leave enough honey for the bees to eat themselves and take care of it and have ways of protecting themselves. And of course, Phoebe, who's the ultimate animal activist, which I find to be the most fucking annoying thing on the planet. She does everything they can to beg them not to take the honey, not knowing that they freaking need it and that it's part of the food cycle. So it explains it in a great form of detail. It shows the process of how the bees make the honey by shrinking the class into and turning them into honeybees so they can actually go into the hive undetected and find everything that they need. And it's just so, and it's very, very informative for people that want to learn about bees or how honey is made. And it's a great, educational aspect. It's truly great. And I found it very educational, in my opinion. And on that note, we'll move on to episode 2, which is In the Arctic. This basically talks about heat. Arnold wants to know what happened to the heat from his hot cocoa. Miss Frizzle thinks it is fitting to learn about heat in the land of ice and cold, so she takes the class to the Arctic. However, she accidentally drives the bus into the water and the bus freezes. To make matters worse, the bus has been trapped on an ice floe with Phoebe, Ralphie, and Liz. The class will have to get to the bus and heat it up to escape. Because she's wondering why the cocoa, basically his hot cocoa, eventually got cold. And that's because it wasn't in a protective thermos. And it talks about how if you put something hot in a thermos, it can keep it hot so you want to drink it. But if you leave it unattended for too long, eventually it will cool down if there's no extra heat added to it. And it shows how, like the important thing, like my mom used to teach me when I was a kid, that in the wintertime, if you tuck your shirt in, if you're wearing like long pants and a shirt, if you ultimately, tuck your shirt in like this, it keeps all the warm air inside. That's why most of the time you see people tucking their shirts in the wintertime. Now, because if you leave it untucked and you have it, flapping around like this, then the cold air can seep into the opening and cause you to get really, really cold. And Arnold learns that as well. And that's how they figure out how to, get the bus melt the bus, defrost the bus, melt the ice, and get themselves out to safety. And again, this is what's interesting about this show, is that whenever bad shit happens, the kids automatically panic. Miss Frizzle doesn't even flinch. It's like nothing rattles this woman, ever. She is just a fucking like stone statuesque person and never has anything bad at all happening to her. It's insanity. But she somehow manages to just stay calm and make everything work out to her advantage. And that's a great thing about her. She doesn't give a shit. It's like nothing scares this woman at all. Nothing scares her, which I find to be, admiring. And I like the fact that it educates people on heat and how it stays and how it disappears and everything, especially when I'm a person myself who's very, very big on heat. I like to stay warm. I hate cold weather. I really do. I don't function well in the cold. I really don't. When it comes to the cold weather, I'm a great big baby. I'm a baby. I don't like cold weather. I don't at all. I like warm weather. I like heat. The only thing I hate about warm weather is that it makes my thighs rub together and cause heat rashes from time to time that I have to treat. But other than that, I love the winter. I love the warmth. I love the summer. I like it. Because if it gets too hot, I can drink some water or cool down with a shower, and I feel better. But the cold weather, it's damn near impossible to warm up. That's why the one and only thing I truly did not like about my trip to Vegas was that when I was in my hotel room with Jamie Ward, Conrad Bromberg, and Ryan Donesco, they had the air conditioner on every fucking night, and I froze to death. There were times where I would shut it off if I was the only person in there, and then they would get mad, like, why'd you shut it off? Because I'm freezing, and you guys aren't here. Now that you're here, if you want to turn it on, be my guest. But I was fucking cold. But of course, they like it cold and I like it warm, and it's majority rules. So I had to fucking, trudge my way through it. But I learned a lesson. If I go to the World Series of Comedy next year and I share a hotel room with Jamie, Conrad, and Ryan, I learned two things. One, I'm bringing sweatpants and a sweatshirt for the hotel room. I'm wearing sweatpants. I'm getting thermals for the hotel, because so I can stay warm in that place. And two, I am not going to be the first one to fall asleep. That's what I learned. Now, I didn't get mad about the toilet paper prank. I laughed at that. But the cold weather drove me nuts. Like, even in this house, my mom and my brother fucking turn on all the ceiling fans. There's a ceiling fan fucking spinning above me right now, but I didn't shut it off. I didn't have the fucking time to do it. But it makes the house cold, and I don't like cold. I feel like I'm living in a meat locker. I feel like I should be hanging on a hook in a meat locker right now because it's fucking cold. I don't like cold weather. It makes me irritable. It really does. It irritates the fuck out of me when it's cold. I don't like the cold at all. And on that note, we move on to the next episode. Spins a Web. This one basically teaches you about spiders. The class has gone to a drive-in movie. That's how far back this is, the 90s. People still went to drive-in movies. I know, because the one and only time I went to the drive-in, I saw the movie Twister. The class has gone to a drive-in movie to watch the black and white B film Stand By Your Mantis from 1953, which is a parody of the 1957 film The Deadly Mantis. And it was basically starred Craig Stevens, William Hopper, Alex Talton, and Pat Conway. And it was in February 1997, it was featured in an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And it also had Florence Amos, Donald Randolph, Paul Smith, Phil Harvey, Floyd Simmons, Paul Campbell, and Helen Jay. And it received a 4.5 out of 10 on IMDb and has a current rating of 38%. So basically that's what the movie's based on. And it features General Arenas, who's played by Ed Asner, who most people is primarily known for his role as Lou Grant on both The Mary Tyler Moore Show and its spin-off series Lou Grant. He's also known for playing Santa Claus in the comedy film Elf and its animated remake, Elf, Buddy's Musical Christmas. So basically the movie Elf with Will Ferrell, which is one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies ever. I thought it was awesome, an awesome movie. He's known for playing Santa Claus in that. And he's just overall a great actor. He's appeared in off-Broadway revivals like Three Penny Opera. He's been in The Outer Limits, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. He's done Mr. Novak, Mission Impossible, The Invaders, Rich Man, Poor Man, The Boondocks. He did like voiceover work. I mean, this guy has just been a great, great actor who's appeared in so many, you know, and he has a small pivotal role as billionaire Warren Buffett in the HBO's economy drama, Too Big to Fail. I mean, this guy is a great, great actor. He's been around for many years, and, you know, I'm glad he made an appearance in this one. Who's attempting to destroy a giant praying mantis. Carlos and Phoebe are not enjoying it. Carlos hates insects and spiders, and Phoebe's upset and declares that if she were in that movie, she would trap the mantis, take it somewhere else, and free it, which is why Phoebe is, again, an animal rights fucking idiot. Naturally, this gives Miss Frizzle an idea, so she drives the bus into the movie, and General Arnis takes over the bus, kidnaps Liz, and pushes a button that makes the class go back out of the movie and shrink. He wants to use Liz as bait for the praying mantis. Outside the movie, the class encounters spiders a lot, and when Liz pushes a button that pulls them back in the movie, they apply what they have learned about spiders to stop the general from using Liz as praying mantis bait. And basically learn about spiders, they spin webs, they trap insects, and save them for food, basically. And it shows you how they do it, how they spin their webs, and how they eat, and everything else, and it just becomes, you know, very educational. And they use to trap a deadly praying mantis, which I think is kind of clever and really cool. And if you're a fan of spiders, you get to learn a lot about them through this film. I mean, through this episode. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to learn how to study spiders or be fascinated with spiders, despite the fact that I'm petrified of them. I'm not a big fan of spiders. Which is kind of weird, seeing as how I used to be a Boy Scout, but I still didn't like spiders. I'm not a big fan of spiders at all. Ugh. Creepy. And on that note, we move on to the next episode, which is Under Construction. The class is going on a field trip to the new suspension bridge currently being constructed. However, there's a problem. Miss Lee, played by Rosalind Chow, who's Wanda's mother. Rosalind Chow was also in Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. She's done Here's Lucy, Anna the King, The Hardy Boys, Kojak, The Incredible Hulk, The Amazing Spider-Man in 79, Different Strokes, MASH, Aftermath, The A-Team, Miami Vice, Murder, She Wrote, ER, Citizen Baines, The OC, Monk, Tell Me You Love Me, CSI, Don't Trust the Bee, and Apartment. Or I'm assuming that means bitch because there's a lot of dash lines. Bones, Intelligence Forever, and Castle. She's also in the movies The Ultimate Imposter, The Big Brawl, An Eye for an Eye, The Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island. What the fuck? Twirl, Terry Fox Story, Slam Dance, White Ghost, Denial, 1,000 Pieces of Gold, Megaville, Intruders, Memoirs of Invisible Man, The Joy Luck Club, Web of Deception, Love Affair, North, To Love, Honor, to See, The End of Violence, What Dreams May Come, Enemies of Laughter, Three Blind Mice, I Am Sam, Freaky Friday, Life of the Party, Just Like Heaven, Nanking, and The Rising Tide. And she did the Broadway theater Some Girls on Broadway. So she's quite the actress. And she had to play Wanda's mom. Needs Wanda to watch her little brother William until she gets off her business call. The class decides to watch William together. William, only an infant, accidentally uses the porta shrinker to shrink down the entire class without Liz and the bus and locks the class in the bathroom. The class uses the materials available to help them build structures to escape. This is the first episode where the bus does not transform in any way. All right, so the bus pretty much doesn't do anything magical. But it's great because it basically learns how to make structures and bridges, which I learned in a tech class, which we used to do, is it basically teaches you that if you build things properly and structure them the right way, you can carry things across without them breaking. Basically shows how they build bridges to make cars go across without them breaking under the weight. And how much weight they can realistically carry, how much weight can work. That's why, things have a weight capacity, like elevators and stuff. Like if you if you go over X amount of weight, the elevator will stop or crash or won't move or whatever. And that's why they're very careful with it and how everything works. And I liked it because I took a tech class in high school where they taught us like suspension bridges and things like that. And those were always real fun classes. We basically built a bridge and constructed it, and they saw how much weight it could hold. And depending on how much weight it could hold, determine what your grade was, or if you won the competition. And it's very educational. It's a lot of fun, and it's another thing that pretty much teaches you something that you normally couldn't learn on your own. And on that note, we'll move on to the next episode here, which is Gets a Bright Idea. And this one basically involves light. Janet is disappointed by the all-school field trip to a light show, considering that she wanted to see a magic show. She tells the kids she could do a magic trick, but she cannot because of the ghost that haunts the theater. When the class leaves the theater, they find Arnold missing. When they enter the theater again, they see Arnold's ghost. Keisha the skeptic is convinced that it is really a trick done by Janet to excuse me. Damn. Never had a hiccup and a burp before. Janet to scare them. She soon finds out that Janet's using the Pepper's ghost effect to scare the class. And the Pepper's ghost effect is basically an illusion technique that's used in theater, amusement parks, museums, television, and concerts. And it is named after John Henry Pepper, a scientist who popularized the effect in a framed demonstration in 1862. It has a long history dating to the 16th century and remains widely performed today. Notable examples of the illusion are the girl to gorilla trick found in an old carnival sideshows and the appearance of ghosts at the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Teleprompters are a modern implementation of Pepper's ghost. Examples of concert illusions based on Pepper's ghost are the appearance of Tupac Shakur on stage with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg at the 2012 Coachella Music and Arts Festival, and Michael Jackson at the 2014 Billboard Music Awards. It basically uses light to reflect images to make you, and like mirrors, to make you seem like somebody is really over here when really they're standing right here. And the lights and everything reflects on it. And I can tell you right now, it's a great, amazing technique. It creates a lot of illusions, and it's very entertaining. And it shows how you can manipulate light and structure to create the best things and even do magic tricks. So I found it entertaining because it was something that was educational, especially if you're a Halloween fan, which I am. I love Halloween. So I definitely wanted to do research on this because obviously not this year, probably not this year, but maybe next year, or if I ever get my own place, get my own place, I would love on Halloween to use this knowledge to turn like my house or another house into a haunted house to have people go through and scare them. I think if you possess this kind of talent, I think that I've only been in like one haunted house that's like in Atlanta, and that's like the one at the Relapse Theater that they used to do. I don't know if they still do it today. But if I don't know about the 3-story haunted house that's here in Atlanta, I've been meaning to check that one out because I heard about it. I've heard about it through my time on the Regular Guy show. But if I ever did go through a haunted house, I hope they do this. I hope they use this idea. I really do. And I know they got a lot of haunted houses down in Savannah, Georgia, but I don't plan on driving all the way to Savannah, Georgia. So I'm hoping maybe they got those ideas. But I'm definitely thinking this. If you're somebody that's designing a haunted house, or you work at any of the haunted houses I just mentioned, you may want to pass this knowledge along. It could be very helpful and instrumental. And on the next episode, which is Shows and Tells. The class is on the International Show and Tell game show. One person shows and the other tells. Arnold will bring his rock collection, and Dorothy Ann will be doing the tell part. However, Arnold arrives without his rock collection. He had found a strange object which he thinks would work much better, but nobody even knows what it is. Miss Frizzle takes the class on a field trip to find out. She turns the bus into suppositron that can test their hypothesis. Now, basically, this is a test about archaeology, and it shows the power of archaeology and the importance of it and how helpful it can really be. And I can't remember this far back exactly what the item was, But I do remember this episode being probably one of the most educational I saw. And because it was a game show, one of the voiceover actors was Alex Trebek, who, of course, as we all know, is the host of Jeopardy and has been since 1984. But what most people don't know is that he's also been the host of other game shows, including The Wizard of Odds, Double Dare, High Rollers, Battle Stars, Classic Concentration, and To Tell the Truth. And he usually makes appearances portraying himself in shows and movies. And he also was at WrestleMania 7 as a ring announcer and interviewer, which I thought was pretty cool. And pretty much, so he's done so many, cameo appearances in the past that Alex Trebek is truly one of the all-time greats in terms of, game show hosting and things of that nature. So definitely was an entertaining episode. And now episode 7. Miss Frizzle and Liz have invented a magic pin. It's called Makes a Rainbow Color. Miss Frizzle and Liz have invented a magic pinball machine that uses light instead of balls. The light travels much slower than in the real world. The light goes through a prism, and the player attempts to bounce the different colored beams of light into the appropriate eye in order to make the rainbow. Miss Frizzle says if she fails to win the game, it will be taken away. The class decides to help, and they shrink the bus and go inside the machine. Mr. Ruthie, the principal, shows up, and Arnold tries to stall him. Now, this one was awesome, because I noticed they hit the different combinations and making the rainbow. The only thing that bothered me about this episode was when they listed the colors of the rainbow. Because here's the thing, obviously we all know, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. What bothered me throughout this entire episode was indigo was never mentioned. They focus on all the other colors, but for some fucked up reason, indigo was never, ever mentioned. And that really pissed me off. I'll be very honest with you guys. That frustrated the ever-loving shit out of me. It really did. But ultimately, the episode was great. And I think the principal was played by Paul Winfield. If I can take a moment here to check out everything. Yeah. Paul Winfield is a television, film, and stage actor. He was known for his portrayal of a Louisiana sharecropper who struggled to support his family during the Great Depression in Sounder, which earned him an Academy Award nomination. And he also portrayed Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1978 television miniseries King, for which he was nominated for an Emmy Award. He was also known to science fiction fans for his roles in The Terminator, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek The Next Generation. He's also done a lot of multiple films. He's been in Who's Minding the Mint, RPM, Brother John, Trouble Man, Sounder, Gordon's War, Conrack, Huckleberry Finn. He played Jim. Hustle, High Velocity, Damnation Alley, The Greatest, Green Lights, Twilight's Last Gleaming, A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich, Carbon Copy, White Dog, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, On the Run, The Terminator, Mike's Murder, Blue City, Death Before Dishonor, Big Shots, The Serpent and the Rainbow, Presumed Innocent, Cliffhanger, Dennis the Menace as the Chief of Police, The Killing Jar, In the Flesh, Original Gangsters, Mars Attacks, Strategic Command, Assignment Berlin, Catfish and Black Bean Sauce, Knockout, Vegas City of Screams, and Second to Die. And in terms of TV, he did Perry Mason, The Man from UNCLE, Daktari, Cowboy in Africa, Mission Impossible, Mannix, The Young Rebels, The Horror at 37,000 Feet, It's Good to Be Alive, Green Eyes, King, Backstairs at the White House, Angel City, Sophisticated Gents, The Blue and the Gray, For Us the Living, The Medgar Evers Story, The Fall Guy, Murder, She Wrote, Under Siege, Mighty Ponds, The Charmings, 227, The Women of Brewster Place, Wise Guy, LA Law, Family Matters, Star Trek, The Next Generation, Irresistible Force, Scarlet, The Magic School Bus, of course. He played Mr. Ruthie, and he played this role sporadically throughout the show. And Tyson, Babylon 5, he played Don King in the movie Tyson. White Dwarf, Gargoyles, Touched by an Angel, Second Noah, Walker, Texas Ranger, City Confidential, Strange Justice, Crossing Jordan, and finally Sounder. So this guy has one hell of a resume, and he played the principal very well. And in the end, they managed to put the colors of the rainbow together, minus Indigo, and did very well. And that just, and I know that sounds like a stupid thing to be upset about, but to me, that's the one moment where, in terms of education, the Magic School Bus really dropped the ball. Because you should never, ever mislead a kid. Because they believe everything almost. And indigo is a color of the rainbow. And I felt that that should have been used in the show. And that was the only thing I didn't like about that episode. Everything else is pretty cool. And now I'll move on to number 8. The Magic School Bus goes upstream. This talks about salmon migration. Ralphie is wondering what happened to all the salmon. They need them for the school fish fry, but none of them are here. The first decided to take the class on a field trip to find out. She turns the bus into a salmon and puts a compact disc in the bus that makes it think like a real salmon. And it will go wherever Ralphie's salmon went. However, when the bus starts migrating, Ralphie changes his mind about doing anything to find out what happened to the salmon. He and some kids in the class attempt to stop it, but to no avail. So basically, they're struggling because they're going to be migrating upstream. And he finds out that, that salmon, they migrate upstream when they're ready to spawn or have children or eggs or things like that. They basically lay the eggs, and then the male salmon come and drop the sperm that covers the eggs, and they hatch. And they have to migrate to a certain place in order to do that. And that's why they're having a hard time finding the salmon, because they're migrating for that moment in time, that yearly spawn. And that's pretty much what they do. And they talk about the migration of, the fish. They basically go to where they need to go to get to the, they migrate between saltwater and freshwater to migrate up rivers to spawn for reproduction. And they have to go upstream in which to do it, which is why it's, hard to find them, because it happens to be their mating season. And all animals do that. It's like birds who fly south for the winter. They have a path in which they take. And then they eventually get to where they need to go. They get to their spot, and then they lead them there. And usually how it works is, when you're a baby, the mother leads the kids. That way, eventually, when the mom dies, the kids can find it themselves once they have the flight path. And that's why, if you've ever seen the movie Fly Away Home with Jeff Daniels, I think it's Daniels, and Anna Paquin, which is a really great movie. It's basically about her finding a flock of geese. She finds the eggs. The eggs hatch. They look at Anna or Amy, what's her name in the movie, and they believe that the geese are their mother, that she's their mother, that she's their mom. Because that's the thing. Whenever a bird hatches, whatever the first person it sees when it's born, it thinks you're its mother. That's why it's pivotal for the mom to be there when the bird hatches. And basically what they do is, they build this aircraft, because the dad has a flying aircraft, and he teaches Amy how to fly it, and then they basically fly, and they basically lead these birds south for the winter, and they find a spot where they're able to land. And they have to get there before a development deal gets there, because once the animals show up, it becomes, a breeding ground for endangered species, and they can't build anything there. So they got to get there before the land developers do. So it's a great environmental type film. But in the end, the birds get there. And the best part is, once they lead them there one time, the birds are able to do it themselves because they can't survive in the winter there. So they would basically fly away for the winter, but because they know the path and that's the mother, they fly back to the house. And that's the beautiful thing. Like the following year, the birds fly off on their own. And they go and they show up right back at her front door when summertime rolls around. And I think it's great. And it's great that they don't have to keep going with them. Otherwise, they have to make a winter trip, which would be awkward. But yeah, this is a great episode on migration and another educational tool for people. Although I don't know if kids need to learn about salmon going upstream to spawn. I don't think reproduction is something you really want to teach. I don't know. But they're going to have to learn sometime. And on that note, move on to episode 9. We got the Magic School Bus works out. At this year's teacher athlon, Miss Frizzle's competing against Mr. Sanu, the gym teacher with giant muscles. Janet, who we all know from the other episodes, is also Arnold's cousin, shows up again and supports Mr. Sanu, who is played by NFL Hall of Famer Dan Marino. That's right. The legendary quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, who was also, he played a pivotal role in Ace Ventura, a Pet Detective, which was great. A man who threw a then NFL record 48 touchdown passes. Despite the 14-2 season and Marino's touchdown record, the Dolphins lost the Super Bowl 38-16 to the 15-1 San Francisco 49ers, which my mom probably enjoyed because she's a huge 49ers fan. And he was the last quarterback of the quarterback class of 1983 to be taken in the first round. And he has dozens of NFL records associated with the quarterback position. Some of them he still holds. Others he has lost over time. But, he is truly... His current records are he has the most games, 400 or more yards passing for his career, which is 17. Most season league passes. Most season leading league pass attempts, 5. Most seasons leading league completions, 6. Most seasons leading league lowest sack percentage, 10. Most consecutive seasons ending league, lower sack percentage, 7. 100 touchdown passes and fewest number of games to start career, 44. 200 touchdown passes and fewest games to start career, 89. Monday Night Football, most passing yards, 9,654. Most completions in Monday Night Football, 798. Most attempts, 1,303. Most touchdown passes, 74. Most wins as a starter on Monday Night Football, 20. So Dan Marino is a hell of a talent. And then, of course, he had other records that were surpassed by guys like Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Charlie Batch, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Robert Griffin III, and many, 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 many more. I mean, these guys have – Dan Marino is a hell of a player and was a great addition to that Magic School Bus. He was 9 times in the Pro Bowl, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, NFL MVP in 1984, Offensive Player of the Year in 84, NFL Man of the Year in 98, Comeback Player of the Year in 94, 2-time AFC Player of the Year in 84 and 94, NFL Rookie of the Year in 83, 5-time NFL passing yards leader from 84 to 86, then 1988 1992, 3-time NFL passing touchdowns leader from 84 to 86, number 13 for the Miami Dolphins, and number 13 for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Both those numbers have been retired. His pass attempts are 8,358, pass completions 4,967, percentage 59.4, passing yards 61,361, passing rating 86.4. TD, INT, and his touchdown interceptions 420, touchdowns 252, interceptions. And that's all on Dan Marino. But yes, he played the teacher. The class is convinced there's no way Miss Frizzle can beat someone who can destroy shirts simply by flexing his muscles. Ralphie wants to know what lungs have to do with how your muscles work. So they're on a field trip inside the Frizz herself. And they basically learned that the reason is because lungs help you breathe, which puts oxygen through your body, which gives you energy. That's why people always tell you, breathe when you run, or breathing is important. Like even when you do DDP yoga, one of the things, the first thing they do is they lay you down in the pinfall position and you breathe a little bit, and they start off with breathing because breathing is the most important thing you do. That's why he always says, inhale, do this, exhale, do that. Because breathing is essential. Because that controls everything. And if you're able to breathe, if your lungs are in great shape and you're able to breathe, it helps you run faster. Otherwise, you could be horribly out of shape. So it basically teaches you about circulation and the human body and how to get your muscles working and everything else. And, it's very educational, especially in nowadays with the obesity epidemic as high as it is. And there's a lot of fat kids. And I'm not hating on them because I already know I'm fat too. So don't think I have delusions of grandeur here. But the point is, it's another very educational thing. And this is the one moment where gym teachers could actually use this episode in class to better educate people. And on that note, we move on to episode 10, which is Gets Planted. This basically teaches photosynthesis. The class is performing a play of Jack and the Beanstalk. As Phoebe gets stage fright, she decides to make the props. However, there's a problem with the beanstalk. She tried to grow a real one, but it did not work. So she tried to build one, but that did not work either. Naturally, the Frizz turns into a bean plant, and Phoebe becomes shorter than Liz. However, no one is sure how plants get food. So basically, they educate her on photosynthesis, the water in the roots, the sun, and why plants need water, sun, oxygen, everything. And the fact that she has to learn how to open her leaves because the leaves have to be open so the food can get through. And then all of a sudden she grows really, really, really tall, damn near through the roof. And by the time the play rolls around, she's able to become the beanstalk and everything else. And I remember this episode very well. This was one of the things where they learn about photosynthesis and the process of making food and how everything happens, and that plants make their own food, even though you can give them plants and soil and water and everything else. That's just to help them get started and take care of everything themselves. Which, unfortunately, I can never use this information when I'm at the Home Depot, but I don't give a fuck because I don't really talk that much while I'm there anyway, so it's not going to give a shit. But anyway, it's definitely an important aspect of photosynthesis. It definitely helps out. It's very entertaining. And it's on an edge. It's on the edge of your seat, especially when you find out Phoebe is practically in a box, which means if they don't get her out of there, she could freaking die. So that was another interesting concept to look at during the show. And on that note, move on to episode 11, which is In the Rainforest. And they learn about rainforest ecology. And the class has decided to give the Frizz a present for Earth Day, a cocoa bean tree in the Amazon, as cocoa beans are used to make, chocolate. The day just happens to be the day the first shipment reaches them, but for some reason, the tree has produced no cocoa beans. They go to the rainforest to find the reason, and Miss Frizzle makes Tim and Dorothy Ann RFIs, or rainforest investigators. Miss Frizzle's tree is in a patch of the rainforest controlled by Inspector 47, who talks with a strong accent and runs around the rainforest in a white suit. He is very proud that he got rid of the mud in his patch of the rainforest. However, the class finds out at the end that the absence of mud was what caused the absence of cocoa beans. The mud holes were where the insects that pollinated the cocoa pods lived, and it is revealed that Inspector 47 had covered the rainforest floor with artificial turf. They explain this to him, and he decides to rip this filthy artificial turf with his bare hands. Now, of course, Matt Fewer is an American Canadian actor, singer, voice artist, and comedian. He's recently performed cameo appearances as the Max Headroom character in the Adam Sandler comedy Pixels, plus a portrayal of Joe No. 2 in the Steven Spielberg picture The BFG, which is an adaptation of Roald Dahl's children's novel of the same name. He's been in Monty Python's Leader of Life, The Meaning of Life, The Crimson Permanent Assurance, The Lord of Discipline, Supergirl, the 84 movie, not the current TV show, Spies Like Us, The Fourth Protocol, It's SAR, Speed Zone, Far From Home, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as Russ Thompson Sr. That's where I remember this guy. Short Time, The Taking of Beverly Hills, $20, The Stand, National Lampoon Senior Trip, Lawnmower Man 2, Beyond Cyberspace, Driving Mr. Paint, Generation X, Disney's Hercules, Breastmen, Cyberworld, Dawn of the Dead, Intern Academy, Going the Distance, Geraldine's Fortune, Riding the Bullet, Desperation, Weirdsville, Wushu Warrior, Watchmen, Frankie and Alice, Darfur, Rampage, Battle of the Bullets, 50-50, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb, and of course, Pixels. And he's been the Best Music Host Award at the Cable Ace Awards and Best Performance at a Children's or Youth Program or Series, a Gemini Award. That was for the Max Headroom Show and Mentors, respectively. So so I love this because I love the fact that somebody actually was dumb enough to put artificial turf in the fucking rainforest. I can understand artificial turf like in a house or on a golf course maybe, but in the rainforest, that's just plain retarded. Now, of course, if you're a kid, you don't know this, so it is important education. But as I said, I'm seeing it through adult eyes. I realize how fucking stupid that really is. And you learn how fucking stupid that really is and that it screws up everything and can fuck up the whole rainforest. Although I learned more about the rainforest watching Fern Gully than I did this episode. So, and you learn Fern Gully is a glorified environmentalist animated show when you really take a look at it. And on that note, move on to the next episode here. We got 2 more, and then I'm wrapping up. Rocks and Rolls. This basically talks about water erosion with a cameo appearance by Jessica Walter. The class is sculpting a statue of Captain Walker, their city's founder. Captain Walker left instructions on how he wanted the statue sculpted in the form of a poem. Miss Frizzle's class interprets the meaning. He wants it sculpted without the use of hands, a little too literally. However, the statue breaks off the top of the mountain and falls down. The Frizz turns the bus into a rock and follows. Water erosion reduces the statue to a head by the time they reach the bottom. Desperate to get to the ceremony, the bus cracks open a dam of rocks that is formed and slides down the mountain. However, they found that somehow they made the mountain into a statue of Captain Walker's head and realized that Captain Walker had wanted the statue sculpted through erosion. Now, Jessica Walter is an American actress. She is best known for appearing in the films Play Misty for Me and Grand Prix, and her role as Lucille Bluth on the sitcom Arrested Development, and the voice of Mallory Archer in the FX animated series Archer. She was season regular for the first half of 90210, providing the voice of Fran Sinclair in the series Dinosaurs, and starred the title character of the series, Amy Pentis, for which she won the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Miniseries or TV Movie. So she's definitely a hell of a talent. And I could go through a list of accomplishments, but you know what? Why not? She was in the films Lilith, Grand Prix, The Group, Bye Bye Braver Man, Number One, Play Misty for Me, Victory at Anteb, Golden Girl, The Concorde, Airport 79, Going Ape, Spring Forever, The Flamingo Kid, Tapeheads, Ghost in the Machine, PCU, Temptress, Sons of Beverly Hills, My Best Friend's Wife, Dummy, Unaccompanied Minors, and Bending the Rules. Her television credits include Name of the Game, Mannix, Mission Impossible, Name of the Game, again, Elias Smith and Jones, Cannon, Women in Chains, Home for the Holidays, Bannock, Columbo, Amy Prentice, McCloud, Shoots of San Francisco, The New Adventures of Wonder Woman, Macmillan, Wheels, Doctor Strange, Vampire, She's Just to Kill, Joni Loves Chachi, Three's a Crowd, Murder, She Wrote, The Execution, Magnum P.I., 2 more Murder, She Wrote, Dinosaurs, another Murder, She Wrote, Babylon 5, Just Shoot Me, Arrested Development, Rules of Engagement, Saving Grace, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, Make It or Break It, Law and Order SVU, Archer, Gravity, Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated, The Big Bang Theory, Retired at 35, Jennifer Falls, Star versus the Force of Evil, and NCIS. And I like that. And of course, it talks here about water erosion and, how water, how it uses erosion, through floods and, you know, surface processes that remove soil rock disinvolved material from one location on the Earth's crust and transport it away to another location. And it's definitely an interesting concept for someone to build a statue with erosion, but somehow the Magic School Bus manages to get it done because, let's face it, on this show, anything can happen through animation. And finally, the last episode of season 3, the Family Holiday Special. It is the day before the winter holidays, and the class is taking stuff to the recycling center, which is run by Murph, voiced by Dolly Parton, Miss Frizzle's cousin. And of course, we all know Dolly Parton, incredible musical talent. She wrote the song 925. Which was her, the song I use as my Labor Day theme song. She is truly an amazing, gifted talent. She's garnered 8 Grammy Awards, 2 Academy Award nominations, 10 Country Music Association Awards, 7 Academy of Country Music Awards, 3 American Music Awards, and is one of only 7 female artists to win the Country Music Association's Entertainer of the Year Award. She's received 46 Grammy nominations, tying her with Bruce Springsteen for the most Grammy nominations and placing her in 10th place overall. And in 1999, she was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And she also composed the song I Will Always Love You, which was later covered by Whitney Houston. And as an actress, she was in the films 9 to 5, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Rhinestone, and Steel Magnolias. So, definitely glad to see Dolly Parton in this. Wanda is going to see the Nutcracker and is bringing a toy soldier instead of taking money, as they are taking toys to give to homeless children. As usual, something goes wrong. Arnold mistakes the soldier for something being taken to a recycling plant, and Wanda's soldier is turned into plastic pellets. Wanda angrily declares she wishes recycling had never been invented. Naturally, this gives the Frizz an idea. She turned the bus into an anti-recycling machine, which changes the city to the way it would be without recycling. It cuts down the forest and turns recycling trucks into garbage trucks. The kids are confused when it turns the swing set in the park into aluminum cans and such. Wanda is still pleased, since if recycling had never been invented, then her soldier would still be waiting for them in school. However, the bus turns the school into a garbage dump when they get there. Finally, the bus unrecycles itself. Wanda then apologizes for having ever wanted to get rid of recycling and wants it back. The Frizz changes the bus, so it changes everything back. Wanda makes new toy soldiers from the metal plastic pellets. Arnold has to leave for his sick grandma for Hanukkah soon. Arnold's classmates, Miss Frizzle and Murph, appear. So they appear on the train to celebrate the holiday with Arnold while he's going to leave to visit his sick grandmother. Now, this episode airs a special 1-hour episode during its original airing. The first 30 minutes is the irregular episode. The second half of the hour is a behind-the-scenes look at the series with the voice cast. For subsequent reruns, it airs this regular 30-minute episode with a behind-the-scenes segment cut out. The home video release is also missing the behind-the-scenes segment. It only features the 30-minute version seen in syndication. All right. I can understand cutting out the last 30 minutes in reruns on TV, but in the home video release, why would you cut that out? All I know is this. I don't know if the Magic School Bus is available on DVD, but if it is, they need to include that. And I'm also shocked that Netflix isn't including that. At least include it as like a separate thing for people to look at, because that's actually really cool. I would love to see the voice cast of the Magic School Bus. I mean, hell, that's what they're doing with the Splat right now. They're showing us the voice cast of like Doug, the Rugrats. Let me think. Ren and Stimpy. I know when I got the complete series of Rocko's Modern Life, one of the bonus DVDs was the cast of Rocko actually getting together at a convention, some type of Comic-Con like convention, where they, did a table read and sat there and voiced the characters right in front of us, which was freaking awesome. and you got to learn things about the characters you didn't know. So I feel like the Magic School Bus should do that. At least on the home video or DVD release. Or hell, even on Netflix, I would have loved to have seen that. That would have made a 10 times better episode than it already was. This was a great episode. You know, they get rid of recycling and show you the importance of recycling, even though most people today still don't give a shit. I usually throw shit in whatever bin I can find because I'm like, whatever. But most of the time I'm observant of recycling. But usually there are days where I'm just tired and I don't give a fuck. So I just throw it in whatever bin. But obviously recycling is important and people need to learn why that is. And by learning that, you learn how to, you know, not fuck up the planet too much. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes my season 3 recap of the Magic School Bus, and that will officially wrap up this episode of the Boochcast for today. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in live. I want to thank everybody listening to the archives. I want to thank Derek Shapiro for calling in. Make sure you check out his half-hour, power hour show. If you live in Rhode Island, Salem, Massachusetts, Duluth, Minnesota, and Athens, Ohio. And I'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. West Coast time with a brand new episode of the Boochcast. I'll be recapping tonight's episode of TNA Impact Wrestling. And if Desmond's on the show, we'll have additional wrestling talk to get into. If he doesn't show up, then I will use that time to recap the 4th and final season of the Magic School Bus. So until next time, this is Vinny Bucci, a.k.a. The Booch, saying keep on living life and take care. This has been the Boochcast. I'll chat with you guys tomorrow right here on Blog Talk Radio and on YouTube.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.